or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokoh is Jeshi la Wokoh?
I can't say it very well. No, you Muthui wa Jeshi la Wokoh.
And everyone knows.
Okay. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's the second day of the week, and there's a little bit of traffic on Jogger Road this morning. Nowhere else where we're looking at right now is there anything major that we ought to be worried about, at least not at the moment. A little bit of traffic at the Pangani underpass getting into the city centre, and a little bit coming out of Westlands. We've just started it out at a few minutes after 6 o'clock. It'll be interesting to see what the rest of the day looks like. Hopefully we can keep things to a dull roar, and be careful while we do it. Let's talk, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the situation.
Yes, it's the 15th day of February. It's 2022. Na unajua nini? Bei ya mafuta haijapanda. Imagine. Bei ya mafuta haijapanda.
Tunashukuru nani?
Mwenyezi Mungu. City, how are you?
I am very well, thank you.
Wait. You're on the wrong mic.
It's all right. Just pick up my guitar. Start 1, 2, 3, go.
Go now.
Right. I am very well, thank you.
Good.
On this very cold morning in this very cold studio.
Yeah, Ndu, you were here earlier. What did you do?
Sorry, what now?
You got into the studio earlier. Mm-hmm. What did you do?
I did nothing.
Why did you put so much cold?
I found it like that.
And you did nothing.
I was just in here for a whisker of a moment.
And you did nothing.
I didn't actually feel it. I was in and out like the breeze.
You did nothing.
Wow.
You know?
That's the sticking point?
Yeah.
Well, it is, because the story is told of a ruler who left his home and left his servants with some money to invest. There were 3. Fast forward to the end of the story. There was one who did nothing.
You're saying I'm the guy with the one talent.
I did not say you did nothing. It is you who said you did nothing.
It's this man here to my left who said I did nothing.
And
now you're taking, this is actually my left, CT.
You said you did nothing.
You've changed your hand. At first it was the right. Now you've changed.
You are to my right.
Okay.
You well though?
Who?
You?
I am fine, thank you.
Good. Good.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Super duper.
Yes.
Titi, how are you? For me?
I'm actually very well, thank you. Yes.
Good.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation at the Situation Room. Asante sana for joining us this morning. We have interesting conversations covering what's happening in the country and in the world. What day is it today, Ndu?
It's Tuesday.
Internationally, we're commemorating
Child cancer.
the Child Cancer Day. And we'll have a conversation around cancer, the young people, at 8 o'clock. And we'll be joined by a guest in the studio to just talk about this, talk about the efforts that are being made to address it, talk about those that are going through care and treatment for cancer right now, those that are dealing with children who have cancer and who are undergoing cancer treatment and everything around it. We'll also talk about, of course, the cost of treatment of cancer, which is a big thing. Keep it right here for that conversation and others. Let's begin with COVID-19 numbers.
Let's look at what's happening around the world. Yesterday we were at 412, just 1.7 million new cases of COVID over the last 24 hours. 113,760,602. That's the world tally now, and we're still looking at more and more cases coming in. However, there is a decline in the number of cases globally. This is a good thing. So now we're dealing with a lot of things that touch on COVID, the politics of COVID, the geopolitics of COVID. We're looking at civil liberties. We're looking at government directives around the world. More and more every day, more countries are starting to say, you know what, thank you. We know that COVID is going to be here for some time. We know that it's something that we ought to live with. Stop crunching on our civil liberties and allow us to come out and do business as we would previously have done. Boris Johnson sent Downing Street a lockdown party questionnaire by police. He's received a questionnaire from the Met Police as part of the inquiry into parties at Downing Street and Whitehall during the COVID lockdown. So I guess he also too wanted to enjoy a little bit of fun, even though he had told the rest of the country to shut it down. Number 10 confirmed that the Prime Minister had been contacted by the police, and he said he would respond as required. Sound familiar? Police were sending the questionnaire by email to more than 50 people. The Met had said the questionnaires would ask what happened and must be answered truthfully. The Force said Wednesday its email must be responded to within 7 days, and the documents asked for an account, an explanation of the recipient's participation in an event. So they need it by tomorrow. But being contacted does not mean a fine would always be issued, the Met added. The questionnaire had the same status as information given in an interview under caution. The Prime Minister has recently come under pressure over the allegations of parties during lockdowns, with several Tory backbenchers calling for him to resign and submitting letters of no confidence in his leadership. Because you remember when Britain went into a secondary lockdown and there was hue and cry, and they said, we cannot have Christmas. And he said, basically, Christmas in England had been cancelled. And then to find out that he was having turn up, as we say, turn up at Downing Street. Johnson had previously said he was looking forward to the police investigation being concluded and has apologized for the things we simply didn't get right, he said. Both Johnson and his wife Carrie are expected to be among those who emailed, although it has not yet been confirmed if Mrs. Johnson has received an email. But the police are asking questions and they must answer truthfully by tomorrow.
Hey. Okay. And in Canada?
And in Canada, Monsieur Trudeau has decided that he is going to call in one of the most forceful interventions ever during his administration to stop this, what he calls nonsense that's going on at the border. So he wants to invoke one of the highest powers of the Prime Minister's office to basically bring this nonsense to a halt by force.
State of emergency. That one gives him the power to...
So same thing like here, when you call a state of emergency, then it now gives you power to do one.
He's invoking some emergency laws.
Don't call a state of emergency, Wana. People just do what they want to do.
They deal with you, man.
You will be arrested and jailed.
You go protest at
while
the border
while investigations are taking place to determine whether you should be in jail or not, and you're in jail.
You want to say business cannot run in this country because you're protesting? I'm gonna come and go and sit down. We tell you where you will sit as we continue with business. Trudeau's doing that in an official manner, saying, you know what, guys, enough. Now, I'm going to gnash my teeth, which is what he's basically said. I'm going to gnash my teeth and stop this nonsense today. Let's see how that goes.
So he's invoking those emergency powers.
Yes.
Last used 50 years ago.
Yes, 50.
And
You know, this story of COVID is bringing out very many things. These are unintended consequences.
Of the COVID itself.
COVID, it's COVID. Look at what it's doing to Britain. Look at what it's doing to Brother Boris Johnson.
Yes.
The guy's position is tottering because of COVID. COVID. It's COVID. It's COVID.
It's COVID's fault.
Yes, it's COVID. Because if there was no COVID, they would just have danced and drunk and there would be no issue.
And nobody would have talked. It would have been
People
okay.
dance and drink. And
As
there's
they
no
normally
issue.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, COVID.
Looking at you.
Now you have a situation here in Canada, COVID.
COVID.
And he's leaving all the emperors naked.
People
COVID.
have come
Yes.
and said we are not living.
COVID.
A man is doing what his father did 50 years ago.
COVID. And I'm
That's an interesting one, though. The last person to invoke these powers,
Yeah.
although slightly different,
what's his father?
was his father.
Yeah.
No wonder he's behaving like this. Like,
COVID. And if you look around the world, you are going to find similar stories where this particular virus is actually changing nations and changing. Our lives already changed. I don't need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. But now the manifestations, it's beginning to touch leaders.
Yeah.
COVID. How many songs have been sung about COVID?
Are there songs about COVID, really?
Are there?
They should be.
Well, there was one by, was it Nicki Minaj?
She did something about it. Corona.
Yeah.
She did.
Coronavirus. Coronavirus. It's 17 minutes, 18 minutes after 6. Let's take this quick break, take a look at the weather forecast for the rest of the day, and then we'll be looking at the people who are online shortly. Roll call time coming up.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Are you a woman looking to run for an elective position in the upcoming 2022 general elections? Spice FM, the home of Kenya's biggest conversation, is inviting you to our studios where you can speak more about your vision and aspirations to an audience of millions of Kenyans as we celebrate women in leadership. For more information, contact us on 0763 969797.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15 today. In Nakuru, 15 degrees and mostly clear conditions, highs of 28 and lows of 14. Partly cloudy at 13 in Nyeri, highs of 27 and lows of 13. While in Eldoret at 12, it's clear this morning. It'll go to highs of 26 and lows of 11. Mostly clear conditions in Mombasa at 25, highs of 32. And in Malindi, mostly clear at 25, highs of 31 today. At the moment, clear skies in Kisumu at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 19. While it's clear as well in Kakamega at 21, it'll go to highs, of 16. It'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 16. Kampala is cloudy at 23, highs of 26 and lows of 19. While we're looking at light rain in Dar es Salaam at 25, highs of 31 today. It's clear in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 26, and 23 will be the high in a mostly clear Lagos, currently at 27. It's raining in Kinshasa this morning at 24, highs of 34 today. Looking out into Beijing, bitterly cold at -7. It's sunny, however. We'll see highs of -2 and even colder lows of -1. 6 degrees and mostly cloudy in Paris, highs of 11. 10 will be the high in London, where it's mostly clear at the moment at 4. -5. Clear conditions on Monday night in New York. We'll see just highs of -3 and lows of -9.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Ladies and
done right.
gentlemen, 6, let's take the roll call.
It is. This is Sir Haran, and he says, "Good morning, everybody. Kisumu is tuned in. Laban is tuned in this morning from Koriot, Nandi County. Odero Jr., good morning from the Great Wall of Kino. I can't keep quiet here. My son Gono is 1 and is turning 1 today. He's turning 1 today, and we share a birthday with him. Allah. Ndu Ongoza choir to him, boy. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Odero and Sons. We started a company even.
Kabisa.
Happy birthday to both of you. Paul Omariba, good morning. Tuning from Bamburi. Ndio tunamka for breakfast at the men's conference. Okay. David Wasubukia says, good morning, represented from Subukia. And Onugo Jim says, good morning, Homa Bay is represented. Abby, we see you. Good morning. Victor Marciaya, we see you as well. Vincent Ogutu. Dominic Muteto is tuning from Lusaka, specifically in Zambia. Alego Karapul in Siaya County. That's where Victor is tuned in from this morning. We see all of you. Thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Karibuni sana, everybody. Siti, today is the 15th.
It is.
Yes.
An African proverb. He may say he loves you, comma, wait and see what he does for you. What have you done for me lately?
What have you done for me lately?
He may say he loves you,
comma, wait and see what he does for you.
Dudung. Then you will know.
Then you will know.
Okay. Hiyo sio ngumu.
No, sio ngumu at all.
Kuelewa?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, this thing is double-edged. When you say wait and see what he does for you, you think
it's a good thing. Why? Find yourself outside, you
might see dust.
The best show of love is when nothing is done.
I heard what he said. Isn't it obvious that I'm ignoring it?
Wow.
It's the best show.
The depth of that comment is...
It's when nothing is done to you.
Continue. It's like you have not finished. Hey.
Okay. Let's look at the newspaper headlines, shall we? Remember, access to the Standard e-paper, Google Play Store, Apple App Store, or www.standardmedia.co.ke. Standardmedia.co.ke. Now, I want to start with a story that's in The Nation this morning. And is page 3 of The Nation. Remember last year, we reviewed a story that had also been published in the papers. This was about a pregnant woman from Hola in Tana River. Hola is Tana River County, okay?
Yeah.
Pregnant woman, Hola, goes into labor, goes to the Hola hospital, requires a cesarean section. The doctors there say, our facilities unfortunately cannot handle a cesarean section. So the best thing is to transfer this patient to another facility. Next facility, Garissa. And the patient is then, the relatives are advised to transfer this patient to Garissa. Basically, let's just say, long and short of it, she died. Now, there's another case. There's a gentleman who is called Hussein Hassan. Hussein Hassan had undergone an operation at the Hola hospital. And then he developed some growth or swelling where the operation had occurred in the stomach. He collapsed on Friday in his house. He needed help. He desperately needed an ICU service, but Tana River County, where he had undergone successful surgery, does not have the facilities. His family says Mzee Hassan had developed a growth in his stomach that emerged months after he had undergone an operation 11 months earlier. When he collapsed at around 8 p.m. on Friday, we rushed him to Hola Referral Hospital, where he underwent an operation. The second operation was successful, but doctors realized that the patient was still in critical condition, and to help him recover, he had to be placed in an ICU. But since the hospital does not have such a facility, they had to refer the patient as an emergency case. They called all the hospitals in the region looking for an ICU space, but none had any space. This is until the doctor made a call to a friend at a hospital in Chogoria who found a functional ICU. It took the family more than 6 hours to get an ambulance and an oxygen tank. The journey on the rough road bore a lot of uncertainty. With the patient in critical condition, they could only pray for his life. We are talking about Hola in Tana River County. And a facility that has an ICU has been found in Chogoria. Chogoria is in Tharaka-Nithi County. To get from Hola to Chogoria, you board the ambulance, head towards Garissa, get to the Tana River junction of entering Garissa, come towards Kitui County, get to Mwingi, get to Muthui, okay? Then that's how you start finding your way
To Garissa.
towards Embu.
You head towards
into
Embu first.
Chogoria. To get Embu, you go to Chuka, then you go to Chogoria. Are we together? That is a long journey.
Chief, it's long.
488 kilometers. It was a drive like no other. He ran out of oxygen when we arrived in Muthui, so we got in touch with Muthui Hospital in Machakos County. We were grateful as they gave us a fully equipped ambulance and a driver to head to Tharaka-Nithi. But in Embu County, about an hour to their destination, Mzee Hassan used the little strength that he had left in him to grab his brother's hand as a sign of farewell before he died. The nurse who had accompanied them confirmed the death. The driver then brought the vehicle to a stop and mourned the family before they embarked on a journey back to Hola. We felt so bad. We know that the doctors from the county did their job very well, but the county administration is to blame for this death. This is according to Harun Hassan, another brother to the deceased. Mr. Harun said the death and expenses they incurred could have been cut if only the county administration had lived up to their promise and their responsibilities. Tana River received more than 38 million shillings of the COVID funds in 2020. Yes. 38 million. The county government announced it had plans to build an ICU, but they later replaced it with plans to set up a HDU. However, no such facility exists in Tana River, and there are no signs that one will be set up. An ICU bed, including supporting equipment such as monitors for assessing patients' well-being, defibrillators for resuscitating, and ventilators for helping patients to breathe, cost about 8 million shillings. Tana River received 38 million shillings. HDUs are for patients who need more intensive observation, treatment and nursing care than it's possible in a general ward. It's less specialized than an ICU, of course. So here is a case of a patient who needed an ICU, who needed to be placed in an ICU. They have a theatre at the Hola Referral Hospital. This is the county referral, by the way. Hola Referral Hospital has a theatre. Patient comes in. Doctors there say, all right, so we need to perform an emergency surgery. They perform the surgery. Then they notice this patient actually needs intensive care. So they're doing the best they can as they're trying to see where can we refer. Of course, they're not calling any other facility in Tana River County.
Because they're the best facility.
They're the best facility in Tana River County. So where would they be calling? Garissa, Kilifi, Kitui. Okay? Of Garissa, maybe they didn't find. Kilifi, maybe they didn't find. Kitui, maybe they didn't find. Doctor remembers, I have a friend, he actually works at Chogoria. Let me ask him whether they have.
Chogoria is in county...
Tharaka-Nithi. Doctor calls Tharaka-Nithi friend. Friend says, yes, I have an ICU facility. If they can come, I can reserve it for them. Let them come. First things first, ambulance.
How do you get this person from Hola to Tharaka-Nithi?
Wait for 6 hours for an ambulance to be available. 6 hours. And oxygen. Get ambulance, get oxygen, start the journey. Go all the way past Garissa, past Madogo, past Mwingi, Matu, oxygen runs out. They go to the hospital there in Matu. Matu doctors say, okay, yeah, actually we have this. We can give you this ambulance that has oxygen. They start heading, get into Embu. Man dies. Ambulance driver just stops, allows the family to mourn. They turn back around. What a tragedy.
Remember the story we heard about a doctor?
Yep.
Who traversed almost the entire coast.
A doctor in Mombasa, relative in Garissa.
It was Lamu.
Yes, doctor in Lamu.
Yes. All the way to Kwale. You know the thing that I found tragic about it? You go through Mombasa. It's not that there were no facilities in Mombasa. The daunting costs.
Yep.
Because they're private facilities, but the costs were prohibitive.
Oh, the demands in terms of what then you must pay before they even, attend to you.
Yes.
The patient was actually from Garissa, remember, Dr. Mohammed?
The patient was from Garissa.
Garissa, Tana River, Lamu, crossover Malindi, Kilifi County, get into Mombasa, crossover the ferry
to Kwale.
Kwale.
Aye, surely.
It is.
Yes.
We're talking about universal health coverage.
Yes. How many counties are those?
6.
Yes.
6. Crossing 6 counties to look for healthcare, and then eventually you don't get it, and then life is lost.
The whole idea
Like
behind
that.
Yeah.
the devolution and the monies that were given during the COVID time was to forestall such an emergency.
Such issues.
Indeed.
Yes. And there is no county that didn't get it.
Do you see now why I'm struggling with this UHC thing? I'm really struggling with it.
Me too.
Because here we are saying, and these are not stories that happened 5 years ago. This is something that was a day ago.
This is it.
This is it. This is the reality that
So,
with
yes.
the rollout, how are we going to do it?
You have NHIF, but
Then
if the facilities
doesn't exist,
don't exist,
what are you going to do?
what are we talking about?
Come on.
What are we talking about? The same case here. We're talking about crossing from Tana River County, a bit into Garissa County, into Kitui County, into Machakos County, into Embu County. They were heading to Tharaka Nithi.
You know, I'm just looking at that route in my head.
Yeah.
It's circuitous.
Yes. Because, and you know why many would ask, why did you go all the way? Why didn't you just stop on the way? Because that is where you were assured of getting help. And it's somebody who made a phone call to somebody he knew.
Yep.
This is a doctor who has networks. This is the one he knew closest to you that you would be assured of getting help. Do you know what that means? That means everything else in that area, you cannot be assured that you would get the healthcare you need.
You know, to get a perspective on this distance, think of somebody living in Nairobi to go and get a hospital in Mombasa.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
It's crazy.
So you leave Nairobi,
It's madness.
you go through Machakos,
Into Makueni.
yes, into Taita Taveta.
It's-
You know, it's and then you pass Kilifi also, then you get to Mombasa to look.
In fact, you pass Kwale and Kilifi.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yes, it's just
Taru
madness.
is Kwale. Yes,
Let's
you're
take
right.
this break. Let's take a look at traffic, and then we continue with the newspaper headlines.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked, and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. the truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Well, from all indications, Tuesday is not going to be too crazy of a day, but we're just going to have to wait and see. A little bit of traffic here and there on Jogoo Road, and it's not piling up on Gong Road at all, so that's a really good thing, getting into the city via community. A little bit of traffic at the roundabout connection on Langata Road, and then it's building up further ahead, just past the junction of the Southern Bypass. We're looking at some traffic on Raila Odinga Way, just at that nexus between Langata Road and the way itself. But apart from that, nothing too crazy. The Eastern Bypass has that little flurry of traffic as usual this morning, as does Mombasa Road here and there, but again, nothing too crazy. Thika Superhighway is building up as you get into the city, but then we're looking at piling up as far back as the junction from Outer Ring, and then towards Clayworks, and even beyond that towards Githurai. All right, what else are we looking at? Coming out of Westerns, a little bit here and there. Use the Red Hill Link Road. You should be fine if you do that. Tell us if you're not. Tell us if you're stuck. Tell us if you're free, and we'll share. Talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, 23-7.
Mornings done
Envoys
right.
are warning on free elections, and they're telling Kenya, guys, you better get it right from the beginning.
What?
Yes. Envoys.
Telling us what?
Get it right, folks.
They're warning you.
Warning you.
Get what right?
Elections, may they be free and fair.
Our elections are always free and fair.
Or else.
It's like you're angry.
Yes, I am.
Okay, let me tell you what they said.
Read
now
the
it might
story.
even invite your angst a little bit more. It's covered on page 4 of the Standard. Accusations and counter-accusations about rigging claims prompt European ambassadors to hold high-level talks. Can you imagine? They even joined a meeting because of Kenya. With top government officials seeking assurance that polls will be fair. Ukuria Tani, who is the National Treasury CS, said the economy was rebounding. So, everybody take it easy. Joe Musheru says government will respect media space and ensure internet is not shut down during the elections. Aline Couste-Ménagère, the French envoy, said they are keen to see how the government is planning to ensure continuity after the polls. And Jane Marriott, the UK High Commissioner, sought assurance for foreign investments that they won't be negatively affected by poll activities. And then, not only did they seek this assurance, but Interior CS Fred Matiang'i gave the assurance to the partners that as a country, we are ready to proceed and facilitate the IEBC to conduct the election. So, Ogas, don't worry. Everything is going to be what?
All
It's
right.
going to be all right. So there was a meeting held at the Serena Hotel yesterday. The envoys, who included a representative from the World Bank, engaged top government officials on the country's preparedness to hold credible polls and ensure a smooth transition of power. They also sought regular meetings during which they will be briefed about the developments towards a peaceful election and transition. The meeting came after claims and counterclaims made by politicians over planned election manipulation. One of the politicians accused of making such claims is Murang'a women rep Sabina Chege, who had, while addressing a gathering in Vihiga, her sentiments provoked a rejoinder from Deputy President William Ruto, one of the hopefuls seeking to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta. And then on Sunday, ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi sensationally claimed that he and Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula and One Kenya Alliance principals had been asked to join hands with some leaders to take part in election manipulation. How about cutting off your nose to spite your face? That would guarantee them an arranged victory. Someone in the government, he told a rally in Carabanet, Baringo County, stated that they had the capacity to create a backroom IEBC if we can be together. He claims his claims came just days after Chege alleged.
Forget those ones. Let's go back to those development partners.
Look, what did
Now it is on the back of
leave these ones alone.
It is on the back of this that the envoys have now said We are hearing the rumblings from 1, 2, 3 corners and quarters. Give us the assurance that there will be free and fair elections, number one, and that there will be no drama, and that there will be a proper transition of power. That is what we are seeking. Fred Matiang'i went ahead to say, don't worry, we got this.
The envoys are
And
not
it'll be
reacting to Musalia Mudavadi's roadside statements. The envoys seem to have had a plan to seek assurances. If you look at what Jen Marriott, the UK High Commissioner, is saying, they were seeking assurances that foreign investments will not be negatively affected by poll activities. Or the French envoy, Madame Alain Costa-Ménager, she said they were keen to see how the government is planning to ensure continuity after polls. It's about a handing over of power, smooth transition. And the CS for Interior and Coordination of National Government, who is basically the boss of the other CSs, says he led his cabinet colleagues on a brief to members of the diplomatic corps on election preparedness and economic recovery, among other key issues. He says in a tweet, I reiterated the government's commitment to facilitate IEBC and the relevant bodies to conduct a free and fair election and a successful transition of government to ensure continuity of business and development projects. He says, we in the security sector have assured our development partners that we will do our part in ensuring the country is peaceful, stable, and ready for the transition. The question is, it sounds like those assurances are very loud.
Why do we need to assure these people?
It's like we are answerable too.
Yeah.
Are we?
The answers are being given as though you are. We give you our assurance.
This is something we need to discuss at great length.
Yeah, because during the meeting they went on to say, "Don't worry, we are giving you our assurance.
No, let's
everything is going to be all right."
We'll be back there. Tell us what else is in the paper city. We will be back. This one we shall revisit. We shall revisit.
City don't vex.
People have their own prime ministers dancing on the graves of COVID, and then they're coming to ask us whether our elections are going to be free and fair. Right. Funding shortfall to hamper smart number plate rollout. NTSA has a funding gap of 604 million for the procurement of smart vehicle number plates in the financial year beginning July the 1st. This was being mentioned by Interior PS, CS rather, not PS, Karanja.
That's a PS.
That's PS. Sorry. Yes. No, somebody has written CS here.
Oh.
I said it correctly the first time. Then I read, no, it's PS. He was telling this to Parliament that part of the budget shortfall is meant for the purchase of vehicle logbooks. Okay, let me just read the story.
Wait, okay.
NTSA is attempting to move to smart number plates.
Yeah.
They also need to purchase logbooks, and if we don't facilitate them, they have a deficit. And if we don't facilitate them, they have a deficit of 604 million, Dr. Kibisho said when he appeared before the MPs during the review of the 20,000. Yeah, okay. 2022. Can they just write what they mean? Now I'm having to interpret names.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. And 2023 budget. Dr. Kibisho said he did not disclose to the administration and the National Security Committee the number of the computerized number plates or logbooks that the budget shortfall was meant to purchase.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Did I hear the man say we are going to smart
number plates?
Number plates.
Yes. And smart logbooks.
So why do we need to print them?
No. He's not talking about printing. It's money to purchase them, to buy them.
To buy what? Logbooks?
Yes.
Why are we buying logbooks?
You know, if you have smart number plates, let me explain what a smart number plate means. Just like, it's like Huduma number.
Yes.
But now it's
number plate.
On your car.
Yes. Logbook. It's like Huduma number, but it is logbook. Anything else you want me to
Yes, I mean.
So what's going on? What are they buying exactly?
If I remember, this idea was, so you have the smart logbook. The logbook is tied to you.
It is you.
It is you.
Number plate, you. It's not
Sell-
general number plate.
Sell vehicle.
Remove number plate.
Remove number plate.
Yes.
Fix.
Sell vehicle.
Sell vehicle.
That number plate is yours.
You.
Yes.
Okay. That means whichever number plate you have,
it's you.
Is you.
Yes.
If you have this one vehicle today, you sell it, you buy another vehicle, you fix.
You fix that number plate onto this new vehicle.
And you attach now the details of this new vehicle with this number plate.
Yes, and because
so
the
not
logbook
at every morning you wake up, hii number plate, nataka kuweka kwa gari gani, weka kwa hii gari ndogo.
And if you have more than one car, again.
More than one number plate.
But it's still smart. It is still attached to you, not to anybody else.
Okay.
So this story of a vehicle having been stolen and it is found that it has a number plate of a tractor, that story is gone.
Okay.
And before they changed the number plates for motorbikes, it was the same. You find a vehicle.
It has a motorbike number plate.
Yes.
And the records, the number plate is actually for a motorbike.
But it's a vehicle. So that story, it is for security purposes, and it is a good way to go.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, explain. I can see the physical number plate. Explain to me the physical logbook. Why do you need a physical logbook? Why do you need to purchase the logbook? If currently, logbooks are not physical. We moved away from that a long time ago. Currently, number plates are digital. Not number plates. Logbooks are digital.
I cannot explain that to you. Because this article doesn't explain it.
But it just says that they need money to buy logbooks.
Yes. The one I can explain, because I understand it, is the logbook bit. I mean, the number plate bit. Yes, that one I can explain.
Okay.
Remember, one of the problems that we've had with the number plates is duplication. Because we've even had situations where you find two cars parked next to each other, or at least they're parked at the police station, and they have the exact same number plates.
Yes.
Yes. And because the number plates were made locally. Yes. At a facility.
Yes.
Yes. Not very far from you.
See press and posters for details.
Details, right.
Just so that you understand, a new smart number plates, you're expected to pay 3,000 shillings for them.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes, that was the idea.
All right.
Egerton University is facing a bleak future because it's choking under a 6 billion shilling debt. So the debt is partly to blame for the ongoing 2-month strike by lecturers. The university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Isaac Kibwage, told the Standard that the institution is grappling with a 77 million shilling deficit for its payroll alone every month due to underfunding. Every month they have 77 million shillings deficit for payroll. He says the university is broke. Anytime we close this, the situation gets worse. We are not talking about little money. As of September last year, Egerton had a debt of 6 billion shillings. The figure continues to rise because some of these debts have compounded interest. We have raised the matter with the Ministry of Education and the Treasury has been informed. The University Senate, after a sitting on Friday last week, announced immediate reopening of the institution, which was shut on November 26th last year following a lecturer strike. The Dons, who have been on strike since November, are demanding implementation of a CBA agreed between 2017-2021. They are also demanding salary arrears accrued last year when the university slapped them with a 40% pay cut as an austerity measure at the height of COVID. Kibwage said a section of lecturers had expressed their willingness to resume teaching as the Agricultural University seeks solutions. Some staff understand the crisis we are in and have agreed to go back to class. We've assured them of their security as we get the university back on its feet. Now, here is one of those cases we're talking about. This is one of the premier agriculture training institutions in Africa.
Okay, yes.
Shut down, and every day it's just going under.
Yes. We are meeting this story at the tail end of it.
Yes.
This was not only a successful university, it was a university that actually made money. You know, when the good Lord, who actually bequeathed this particular agricultural training institute to the Kenyan government, he didn't just bequeath the buildings, he bequeathed a lot of land. This is a proper agricultural college, proper.
You know, just sidebar. You're talking about Lord Egerton here. You know, some people are thinking that the land then was bequeathed from heaven.
The good Lord.
The good Lord Egerton. Yes. Thank you.
Tons and tons
Yes.
and loads of acreage.
Uh-huh.
You know, you're talking about a facility that had a fully fledged. Just conjure up what you expect to see as an output in the agricultural field, whether it is dairy products, whether it is animal product. Just think of that entire array. This institution even had a hotel. And I'm talking about yesterday. How it is that our universities, because this isn't the only one, public universities end up running all these huge bills that then accumulate into billions and billions and billions of shillings in debt. That story in my mind is never really told completely. No. We're told at the point where they're struggling. And then the bits and pieces, they haven't made statutory remittances. That one we're told. But how did we get here?
The question must be asked.
Because there was a time when they didn't have those problems. And when you say the funding isn't enough, these institutions are not free. People pay fees.
This is what I was going to say. The thousands of students who attend at different levels, undergrad, masters, etc., they're not attending school for free.
They're paying.
They're paying fees.
Yep.
What's going on?
Listen to what the Vice Chancellor is saying. He says the university started going off the tracks in 2017 when it underquoted its enrollment through the Kenya Universities and Colleges Placement Service.
Cups.
He says it started by giving the wrong statistics. There was a difference of 3,822 students. This meant that we could not get the funding for the students.
Hold up.
No.
Stop. Sorry, wait. KUSIPS gave who the wrong numbers?
Or who gave KUSIPS the wrong number?
The university underquoted its enrollment through KUSIPS.
How is that possible?
So, students were sent to the university, 3,822 students, but the money to support these students was not coming because somewhere in the books the
3,800
do not feature. Okay. The challenge got worse in 2018 when nearly 1 billion shillings from the National Treasury meant for Egerton University was channeled to another public university under unclear circumstances. 1 billion shillings meant to come here, it goes somewhere else. Money meant for the 3,822 students never came to Egerton. It had been disbursed elsewhere. When our officers went to have the anomaly corrected, that was 935 million shillings. So you see, Egerton has the 3,800 students.
There's no money for them.
The ministry has sent money for this 3,800
somewhere
to
else.
Another university.
So where is it?
See, now it went there.
Where? So they can get it back?
Yes, they can.
By the time you're correcting anomaly. My friend.
Eric, just hold on, please.
This is 2017.
The responsibility of handing over these numbers to KUSIPS rests with the university.
Yep.
Nobody else.
Yes.
So this blunder, which of course they have taken responsibility for, this blunder was their own.
Look.
Right? Now, in terms of doing the trail to say, then what can we do? Because it looks as though we're in a hands up in the air position here. And they're saying, well, you know what? We gave the wrong number. Ministry released the money. And then because of that, we can't start tracing an anomaly, etc., etc. Even as that is going on, there are still students who are enrolling in school and are paying school fees, without which you would not enroll them.
But you have a shortfall of 1 billion shillings.
Yeah, but you don't do.
This 1 billion shilling shortfall, by the time it's reversed and comes to you, listen to how much they spend every month. Each month we spend 251 million shillings on salaries.
Alone.
The university receives 174 million in the continued budget cuts. So they already have
deficit from the 251.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the salaries.
And you have taken loans for other things.
Okay.
You're paying KRA. We have been paying 10 million shillings per month to KRA since September 2019. The balance is now less than 500. Why? Because they had some tax arrears for some things that had not been done previously. Once we complete the principal amount, we shall ask them to forego the interest. They'll tell KRA, okay, sawa. ni sawa. Si you just at least hii ingine tukanjane huko mbele.
Eric, that explanation is inadequate. It's inadequate because I actually am trying to figure out how you can make an error in reporting the number of students that you have. I'm trying to figure this thing out.
3,800 of them? Come on.
2, 3, I get.
Yeah. I even get 50.
Yeah, I can even get 100.
3,800 students. You miss them. They are
It is
not on your radar.
And someone doesn't question and say, folks, last year this is what you gave us. Where are we getting these numbers? And remember, when students enroll to the university or the number, it's public knowledge. It's not something that is secret.
City.
Yes.
Well, aren't we being told here by the Minister for Information how students who do not exist are enrolled into primary school? And capitation money goes
even
there.
Secondary school.
Even secondary. And capitation money goes.
But you know why that happens?
Now, this
Eric?
is...
It's because the head teachers write a report.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Or send a report.
Yes.
Now, the same could happen in the university.
Yes.
Now, it's a question of them filling it in. But you know I'm raising this issue.
Yes.
3,800 students. Those are many students.
Those are many.
Yes. And I'm asking, the question I'm asking is this. What game was going on here? That's really what I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes.
Now that's it. It clearly shows that there was a game.
Yes.
There was a game going on.
That large number. No. And then 1 billion shillings sent. How often do you hear of money being sent to the wrong school? What I've seen when the government uses to supply books, you could get books for subjects that you don't teach in the school. That one I've witnessed. Yes. You're given books for some technical subjects and you don't teach them.
You don't teach.
You don't teach them. But they're there.
But the books have been brought.
But you return them. As soon as you get them, you report and say, I think they've made a mistake here. They can remove from the premise of the school, but as to whether they get to where they're supposed to go, you know
that's the whole point.
Precisely now. But money is transferred electronically.
Yes.
So you're telling me reversing this entry takes as long.
First of all, finding out
where it went.
Where did
the money, 1 billion shillings, eventually land?
No. If someone doesn't want you to find it, it becomes a problem.
Yes.
But there's a list of places that money is sent to.
Yes.
It's like telling someone, you can't figure out where your salary went. Of course you can figure out where the salary went.
How long will it take?
How long
do the people want it to be found?
Thank you. How long do they want it to take?
Yes.
Again, let's go back to factory settings. What was going on here?
And then you find out.
I'm sorry,
the
but
university.
I can't take this at face value. I'm sorry. It's difficult for me to just swallow and say, oh, well, somebody made a reporting error and then 3,800 students disappeared from the radar of KUSIPs. And then because of that, 1 billion shillings was sent and then it got lost. Sorry. It sounds like an explanation you just give, well, it was lost. And then we just swallow and say, okay, let's try and get it back. No.
We'll continue with us. Let's talk about children and safety on the internet.
Keeping safe on the internet is what we're trying to get children to do. While, traversing the big bad world of the internet. The CA now has marked that with the invention of Cyber Soldiers, a game that you can play and access online safety tips on www.ca.go.ke. And you can go there and find out what it's all about and how you can be safe and your children while traversing the internet.
Keep it right here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Let's look at what is happening around our country and in the world. And remember, at 8 o'clock, we have a conversation talking about children with cancer and undergoing cancer treatment and the families that are dealing with this on a daily basis. A very good morning to you. 8:07 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. President Uhuru Kenyatta is on a 3-day working visit to the United Arab Emirates focused on strengthening trade ties between Kenya and the Gulf state. Briefing the press in Dubai ahead of the president's arrival, Kenya's ambassador to the UAE, Kariuki Mugwe, indicated that gracing a high-level business forum, presiding over the Kenyan National Day at the Expo 2020 Dubai, and bilateral talks with the UAE leadership will crown the President Kenyatta's visit to the Gulf state. Ambassador Mugwe said the president will officially open the high-level Kenya-UAE Business Forum and later have bilateral engagement with the UAE leadership today. The Kenyan government has reassured development partners of its preparedness to ensure a smooth transition of power as the August 9th elections draw closer. In a statement, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i said elaborate plans were in place to ensure instruments of power will be handed over to the next government in a peaceful manner. CS Matiang'i further noted that security agencies will be deployed and mobilized to provide adequate support to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The International Criminal Court will today open the trial of Kenyan lawyer Paul Gisheru accused of interfering with witnesses. Gisheru surrendered to the ICC on the 2nd of November 2020, 5 years after a warrant of arrest was issued against him. Gisheru is accused of corruptly influencing witnesses in the case against Deputy President William Ruto, which was thrown out in 2016 due to insufficient evidence. The lawyer, who has been out on conditional bail, is expected to attend the opening of his trial, although the defense team is not expected to present any statement at this stage. Now, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union has moved to court seeking to have the Health Cabinet Secretary Muthui Kagwe, Kenya Medical Supplies Authority Chairperson Mary Mwadime, and the Acting CEO John Kiumi Kabuchi summoned for contempt of court. The three are alleged to have sent KEMSA officers on compulsory leave, which is tantamount to terminating their contract. The court had on November stopped KEMSA from declaring redundant or terminating services of staff, with a judgment expected on the 24th of February. Deputy President William Ruto has launched the bottom-up economic model conversation in Nyeri. The meeting saw the DP get views from locals and traders on their challenges and expectations, saying he wants to be held accountable for all his promises. The DP said the meeting is part of his tour to all the 47 counties, where he will hold conversations with locals to guide his campaign manifesto. He asked residents to keep him accountable for all his promises. Women and youth leaders intending to vie for different elective posts under the Democratic Party will now be required to pay 50% of the prescribed fees. This was revealed by the party's presidential flag bearer and National Assembly Speaker Justin Muthui. Muthui, who hosted the contingent of Nairobi women leaders drawn from different areas from the capital Nairobi, urged them to be his campaign ambassadors and rally their families, groups, and to vote for him come the August 2022 presidential polls. Now, Kenya has moved online as part of its campaign to further market its world-class tourism destinations and attract a much bigger and diverse audience, while admitting that they had not embraced the online space to market its wide, pristine beaches and wildlife. Kenya Tourism Board CEO Betty Radier said the mindset has now shifted. While the world was grounded and everyone was holed at home with the pandemic raging, KTB decided to live stream the wild-beast migration, and that proved to be a genius move. And finally, a senior member of President Joe Biden's communication team is set to leave in the coming weeks, a rare departure for a West Wing that has had limited staff turnover up to this point. Mariel says the White House Director of Broadcast Media will leave government for the private sector after serving as the administration's point person on a critical component of its wide-ranging messaging strategy, which is television. Saz, who was well known on Capitol Hill as a constant presence by the side of House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer during her 10 years working for the Maryland Democrat, had roles on Biden's presidential campaign and in the presidential inaugural committee before taking over the broadcast role in the inauguration day in 2021. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Looks like Tuesday is going to be a good day. Not too much in terms of traffic, bumper to bumper in some parts, but it's flowing on Gong Road, which is a good thing, at least for now. And also on Jogo Road, in and outbound traffic a little bit here and there. After the Bunyala Road roundabout, we have some inbound traffic on Uhuru Highway, getting to Haile Selassie and then well into the city out then towards Westlands is where we'll see some traffic today. Kiambu Road, boom. traffic this morning, in and outbound. And then we have, I don't know how many lanes by now, but it's not looking really pretty now, folks. Limuru Road, in and outbound traffic. As you're trying to get into the city. Also then connecting in Westlands, Parklands, seems some traffic there. The Thika Superhighway, hot and heavy this morning. Omo Noge Patu, all the way beyond Clayworks today. And that still continues to pile up. Let's take a look at how this opens up in the next half hour or so. Help us out here, guys. Let's make it a little bit easier for folks to use the roads this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7. It's the 15th day of February 2022. How you doing? Happy post-valentine day. Bei ya mafuta haijapanda. That is the biggest news of this month. So, let's continue the conversation. CT, the day's proverb.
He may say he loves you, comma, wait and see what he does for you.
Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
Exclamation point.
He may say he loves you, comma,
wait and see what he does for you. Wait and see. Not wait and hear. Wait and see
what he does for you.
Because seeing is believing. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
This is Houdini.
In this country, you have situations where you have political figures trying to persuade you to disbelieve what you
saw.
So, yes. That's not it. The reality is actually this. What you saw, dismiss that.
Different.
Dismiss. Truth is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, you put that comma. I remember a story a long time ago of an adult education teacher, a Ngumbaro teacher, teaching the elderly people.
Yes.
No. It's not. He's an old teacher who was teaching young children how to write insha in Kiswahili. Teacher was Kalenjin. Sasa aliwaambia namna hii. Kuna njia nyingi ya kuandika insha. Kwa mfano, siku moja Goma, Goma aliingia ndani ya msinga ya nyuki. Alipoingia Goma, akapigwa.
What?
It's called mother tongue assistance.
Hey.
Yes, mother tongue. Some call it mother tongue interference.
Nothing.
Kuna njia nyingi.
Nada.
You know.
Rien.
Siku moja Goma, Goma aliingia ndani ya msinga ya nyuki. Full stop.
Goma is a town in DRC.
Ni shauri yako. Mimi sijasema Goma, nimesema Goma.
Sijasema Goma, nimesema Goma.
No. The tone, that slight inflection is what changes everything.
Kobwa.
What's Goma?
Comma.
Siku moja Goma, Goma aliingia ndani ya msinga ya nyuki. Full stop.
Kuna.
I remember not very long ago,
There's no way.
we sent all these wonderfully trained personnel in healthcare services to the UK. And there was one little issue. We're told English. Now, these are people who are trained and taught in English in this country. Okay? Many of them have even passed the English language. Then they go to the UK and they're told they can't speak English. It's a bit strange, isn't it?
It's because of this home.
It is, yes. Mother tongue interference.
Wow.
Millicent Favored says, glad that you guys are discussing about Egerton University. Please discuss it further. The finance departments of these universities are sleeping on their job. So many students are suffering silently in Egerton in terms of stating low admission requirements, only to reveal this during graduation, and no one accepts to take responsibility from the university side. So basically, you are admitted into the college, you go through training. At the point of graduation, you're told, you know you did not qualify for this course. And this is at the end of your training. You should not have been admitted for this course because you had not qualified.
Eric,
Eh?
I have a nephew who is studying at the University of Nairobi, ADD. It's not called building economics, it's called construction economics or construction something or the other. He was informed by the head of that particular unit that he had failed, of that particular subject, that he had failed certain units, that he was supposed to repeat. Because of COVID, there were all these online requirements. We went through hoops trying to determine when it is they're supposed to say it, how they're supposed to register. They couldn't register because they hadn't passed his exams, but they are supposed to repeat it. Now, that song and dance went on, and it appeared like this poor young man was going to have to repeat a class. There were some changes, a new head came in. Now, he knew he was going to repeat. So when he went to, I said, could he see the boss? Now, in the time that new boss was, the old boss, you couldn't get to see this particular head. So he said, let me just go and try. He was ushered in and said, go and see the boss. And said, I just want to find out when I can register for the exams that I'm supposed to recite. What's your name? Number? Said, you do not have any receipt. Said, what? You don't have any receipt. He said, come and see. Yeah.
So where did that initial information come from?
He kept being told that he had to repeat, I think, 3 subjects or something.
By whom, though?
The person who was sitting on that particular seat, the one who headed that particular department then.
Surely.
Yes. So, I heard that story because I was involved in trying to find out. You know how it is, you talk to friends and say, well, I have a nephew, he's having this problem.
Yeah.
Okay? How do we help solve this problem?
Yeah.
One of the problems with our institutions of learning, when you hear the tips at the top, it's a tip of the iceberg. Because there are divisions in these institutions and there are camps. And a lot of what happens is, what we hear, it's a manifestation of the serious infighting that actually takes place on a daily basis. And what that brings about is that people have fiefdoms. Depending on whom you're aligned to, you are a god.
So what is the struggle of power then for? What is the struggle for? Power. Resource, power.
And then if you throw in just a personality malfunction somewhere in between, because you cannot remove the personality of an individual from this whole story.
Right.
So even when you talk about these finances, the person who just commented about the finance department, did we not have an issue in Masai Mara?
Yep.
Did somebody not blow that whistle loudly?
Yep.
Very much so.
Now, you saw the hell and the
high water.
Yes, and the brimstone that fell on this particular individual. It's, he's the one who did this. And yet, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has found that actually what this guy was saying was actually true. Yes. So all I'm saying is, when we talk about the causal effects of some of the things we see happening within our structure of power and government, believe me, it is manifested almost in every other government arm or
entirely, right?
Sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because when you look at an institution as prestigious as Egerton has been over the last few years, and you're chalking it down to mismanagement, the current situation that they've had, mismanagement, look, doesn't matter whether it is somebody who's put in 3,800 or did not put in those names, whether it's money that went somewhere else, whether it is mismanagement of the funds at the school level, even with the little that has come in, whatever it is, unfortunately, individuals then who can be pointed to.
Not only that, mean, that story of the money being sent is a story. You know why?
Believe it, man.
Of all the things that can happen. Are you going to sit back at a billion shillings? The person who sends it, you know.
You know.
The mechanism
you
for
know that 3,800
Yes.
students translates
Yes.
to 1 billion shillings. You know this. You know this. It's not the first time you've dealt with these numbers before.
And then you're using this to explain the
I'm
problems.
sorry.
The 6 billion plus that you know.
There's a rat.
Does it make sense to you, really?
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. And then, look, when you realize that there's a problem like that, you won't go, 1 billion shillings and an institution is supposed to help do 1, 2, 3. What? You won't talk about, you just, this is the problem.
We're not getting money from the government. There are very many issues. Because also, that issue of underfunding by the government basically cutting back on the budget for it, what does it mean? Captain Parasite says, Egerton University, like many other universities and parastatals, are grappling with overemployment. These institutions were turned into employment centers by politicians and senior managers. I however smell political sabotage by the central government of institutions in the Rift Valley.
That's a new one.
That's our new angle.
Yeah.
Because those problems are actually cutting across all universities. Money is sent to these universities. That angle of they've become employment centers. Yes. How many? 200 and how much million shillings a month?
251 million shillings in salaries.
The University of Nairobi has a problem.
Big one.
Jomo Kenyatta University has a problem.
Yep.
The question you want to ask, even JKU has, which public institution
University
does not have a problem? What they may differ in is magnitude. Okay? But this thing of government underfunding, Eric, you asked the right question. What do you mean? What do they mean? And how does it translate into the universities not remitting statutory remittances where they should go? How do you connect the two?
And not even being able to pay.
Yes.
So you can't pay salaries. You can't remit the statutory remittances. You're not able to do anything.
Yet you receive some money. It's not that you don't receive. So what do you do with this money?
What do you do with it?
There's
let's say the one that
there's-
you receive is very little. What do you do with it?
You get money to pay people. And when you pay, you are given gross. It is you who deducts. So you deduct, you deduct, yes, but you don't send.
remit.
Yes.
So what are you doing with it?
And it keeps piling and piling and piling and piling and piling. My friend, there is an untold story here, and it's a lengthy one.
Yeah, there's something.
There's a very big issue
There's
here.
something that's being covered up. It's a lot more than just that.
Bottom line, pesa iko kwa university. Lakini, waligula.
Yes. Eric, I was talking to
Waligula.
I was talking to a contact of mine whom I have in Marsabit. He told me something very interesting because I'm tying these things together. Remember how we're arguing and saying, but if the security forces want to quell these problems, they can. Why don't they? And you realize this has nothing to do with Matiang'i, really.
It's to their benefit. If
No. Matiang'i issues instructions and he's informed things are being done. Apparently, if I'm to believe what I was being told, many of the people who are sent to try and quell these things are young officers. Many of them never get to the trouble areas. They leave, get to a certain point in time, chill, come back in the evening. They never really get there.
They just tend to hang out.
They don't want to die.
Oh, they then take the decision not to go further.
They do not go.
Right.
Meaning they actually don't engage.
Now,
if that story that I was told is true, then what it tells you is that the conflicts we have and what's going on, they are aware that the people they are trying to bring a semblance of peace to are heavily armed.
Which brings it to me, I bring it back to Matiang'i.
Now that one we have to drop it at his feet.
Yeah, because it means that these officers, the reason why they may not be wanting to go and face this seriously armed enemy is because they haven't been well facilitated.
They themselves know, with what we have, we can't face this.
And of course they've said it. They've said it to their superiors. They know. Speaking of Matiang'i, yesterday he's the chair of that committee. You know that committee with a long name? Government committee.
Yeah.
Right? That basically makes him the senior most minister and the one who's in charge of coordination of various jobs being done. He is the CS for Interior and Coordination of National Government.
Yep.
He led his cabinet colleagues in holding a meeting with envoys in the country to brief them on the measures that the government is taking and put in place to ensure smooth and fair election and also a smooth transition of power. He tweeted yesterday and said, "I've led my cabinet colleagues on a brief to members of the diplomatic corps on election preparedness and economic recovery, among other key issues. I reiterated the government's commitment to facilitate the IEBC and the relevant bodies to conduct a free and fair election and a successful transition of government to ensure continuity of business and development projects. We in the security sector have assured our development partners that we will do our part in ensuring the country is peaceful, stable and ready for the transition." Let me play a clip of what Dr. Matiang'i said soon after this meeting when he was briefing the media.
As a country, we are ready to proceed and facilitate the IEBC to conduct elections. The agencies that have got the constitutional mandate to facilitate the IEBC are here. As for the conduct of the general elections, that is the matter of the IEBC, because they're an independent constitutional institution. We have given assurances that we will do our part and we will continue to ensure that the country remains peaceful.
Now, that is a subject of the headline in the Standard today. Envoys warning on free elections. Accusations and counter-accusations about rigging claims prompt the European ambassadors to hold high-level talks with top government officials seeking assurance that the polls will be fair. And when we were looking at this CT, it got your...
Good.
Yes. Right? And your nostrils flaring. What's the issue, though?
The issue is this. When you have development partners, or so they claim to be, and I'm going by the reporting that we have in this in the Standard.
Yes.
The tone with which this particular article was presented isn't, in my mind, the tone of somebody who is a partner. This is the tone of somebody who claims a superior position to you. This is the tone of a prefect. This is the tone of somebody who is asking you if you're behaving according to the way you're supposed to behave. And if you're not behaving, they want assurances that you will behave in the manner that you had agreed you are going to behave. This isn't the conversation of people who are supposed to be equals. No, this is the conversation of somebody who feels that you are an errant child who has the habit of doing things that they're not supposed to do. And you want to forestall it and ensure that you don't go around doing these things that you are known to do from time to time. Yes. The alternative to this conversation would have been, as equal partners in this walk towards this elusive concept of democracy, we understand that there's an election that's going to take place in August this year, right? Now, is there any way in which you feel there is an absence of preparedness in which we can assist you? Because we have been at this democracy game for the longest time, and we've understood how things work. That's the conversation of somebody who is a partner and who wants to help. But somebody who comes out from the get-go and wants assurances that you're going to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Do you have your school bag? Yes. Are all the books in? Have you carried this? Are you sure that you've tied your laces? Okay. Have you done the homework? That's what it sounds to me like.
Listen to what the French ambassador said. She said, regular briefing sessions reinforce the confidence of development partners in the country. It is important, and this is a verbatim quote, it is important for us partners as a group to interact very closely during this election time. It will help us better understand how the government is organizing itself to achieve its results and bring continuity to our processes.
Sounds like a progress report to me.
The meeting also outlined interventions that are necessary to support sustainable development, including the mitigation of climate change, blah, 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 and various other things. Among other things that we had to talk about. It was that. These are your development partners. Okay?
Yes, they are.
These are the people who you call upon whenever you have like a small issue, like, some 2 million people or so, Kenyans somewhere in Pokomos going hungry, you ask them for money and they give you money to feed your people. Okay? These are the people whom you call when you have some serious issue like, COVID, and you don't have enough money to buy the COVID vaccine. They give you some COVID vaccines.
Eric.
These are the same people whom you call upon when you have a small matter like, we have a budget deficit
and we are finishing the
these are
fiscal
COVID
year.
times. So they give you some grants here. They support your projects here. They give you some money to help put water in communities, feed communities, such kind of things. These are the same people you go to.
These are the same
with
people.
a bowl.
Yes, a begging bowl. To be
Yes.
precise. These are the same people who also need to spread their sphere of influence, and they need a foothold, which you provide. It is the purchasing price of the arrangements that we have.
Yes.
These are people who produce more things than they know. So instead of dumping them into the deep sea, they find an avenue for them, and they thank God that there are countries like us who have people who are always starving and need food.
Yes.
And once again, when you talk about bilateral trade,
yes,
these are the same people who want to have a foothold here to bring the armed forces to familiarize themselves with this tropical climate and diseases.
And
so
girls.
they can set up, research labs, they can set up bases, and they can do all these things. So it isn't as though we are sitting back and just receiving goodies without giving something back in return. We do give something back in return.
And you've clearly demonstrated where the balance of power lies.
I have demonstrated the inequality that exists, and I have demonstrated that when words such as partnership comes in, we are listening to falsehoods. We are not partners.
So you're answerable to them?
We are not answerable to them.
But that's where the balance of power is. You've just demonstrated yourself. And that's
No.
what you've said.
I think that's the misconception.
All
And I
these
think
things that you've said,
it's
City, are
unconscious.
demonstrating that.
But coming from where you've said
sit
it,
here
Eric.
on paper and you say
Eric,
that you have sovereignty. You don't have any sovereignty, my friend.
where you have said that we do 1, 2, 3 for you, I think the unconscious thinking for a lot of these partners is that, all right, then they will be subservient to us because we have helped doing 1, 2, 3. It's unconscious, it's unspoken, but it is assumed. And that's where you get the patronizing language that we hear oftentimes, right? On the other side, we can also assume that, okay, just because they've done this for us, then now our sovereignty then is put on the altar of this partnership. Can't do that. I think there's also lines that need to be drawn here. It sounds like a progress report. It sounds like we're putting you on bail, but then report to the DCI every Friday. That's what it sounds like. Like, tell us every now and then, report to us and tell us how things are going. What are you doing to ensure free and fair elections? It's almost as though saying, you know what, without this progress giving to us, we don't know that you guys are going to be able to do it on your own.
Do put it clearly, you are incapable of having a free and fair election.
And should you get into a situation like you got in 2007, don't call on us again.
Actually,
because you did.
We most certainly did.
See, that's the entire conversation here is basically demonstrating that we need them.
Actually,
so this is a partnership. Yes, they need us as well.
Need each other,
but we also
and I
need
think
them.
that's the problem.
And because we will go to them in case things just go awry here. We will call them. We'll ask them for support. We'll ask them, can you facilitate our conversation? Can you facilitate peace building? Can you facilitate a return to normalcy? Can you help us get there? They're like, all right, because I know what you're going to do, can you just...
But this is the thing, and I think we forget it a lot of times.
Give me a breast.
It's a partnership. In as much as on this side we need them, guess what? They need this too. They do. But because they've always come from the premise that, okay, we have more in terms of money and we have more in terms of influence,
and we're
not going to put it out there that we really need these folks. But they do. And I think once you come to the realization that you do, you're not going to pass up your sovereignty just because of that. And I'm not saying that sovereignty is being passed up completely, but there are pieces of it that you can see that somebody's going to stand looking at you in the corner and say, well, you know, you got to get this right, because don't come and call on me later if you should need me. And that's the attitude that's put out. And it's been patronizing from the very beginning, and it continues to be that way so long as there is no realization that it is a partnership. If you're saying you're development partners, then come at it from a partnership point of view. That what can we do together to help, as opposed to do it this way and then report to me on a regular basis about how you're doing it, Otherwise what?
Let me
Otherwise
ask
what?
you, are you guys saying that you find the holding of this meeting to be patronizing?
I find the attitude
that our government ministers sat with our development partners basically to have a conversation. This is what we are doing. Yes, you guys know we have an election. We have put in place measures. Our security is top notch. Any foreign direct investment that's in the country is going to be secured. We're going to have a peaceful transition of power. This is what we are doing. And as partners, we're just letting you know what we are doing.
If it was like that, it would be if it's okay. If it was like that, it would be all right.
As in,
we're letting you know status. This is what's happening. This is what we are doing, etc., etc. And then now they've been told.
That's what it was.
No, it was followed by if you do not, and then give me regular updates. As who? As who?
You know, we haven't recovered.
Let me play a clip of what the French ambassador said, all right, and what the envoy said at the end of this meeting, and then we take a break. When we come out of this break, let's open up this conversation, all right? Do you feel as if holding this meeting where our CSs were sort of reporting to our development partners what plans are in place to ensure free, fair elections, smooth transition of power was actually patronizing? It's like ceding our sovereignty. It's like we're making ourselves subservient to these Western partners. Do you feel so? Let's hear from you. 0719 012
It is important for us partners as a group to interact very closely during these election times and to better understand how the government is organizing itself to achieve its results and bring continuity to our process. We've been all engaged a lot in investing in this country.
The United Nations received Kenya government's request to provide and coordinate some electoral support. We have a small mission in country right now that will be working very closely with Kenya government, with the IEBC and key stakeholders just to put flesh on those bones, the kind of support that we can hope to add to what already is very impressive organization.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Having a health plan protects you and your family by covering expenses that may arise from unexpected illnesses or accidents. And when it comes to getting a quality and affordable health cover for you and your loved ones, cost does not have to be a barrier anymore. Thanks to MTBA, where you can get a health cover for as little as 388 shillings per month without the need to carry cards around with you every time you need medical attention or a general wellness checkup. MTBA has partnered with different technology and healthcare service providers like Safaricom, M-Pesa, Britam, and AAR to develop and distribute health insurance products that are easy to use and accessible on your mobile phone. To access affordable health covers, send an SMS with the word SPICE to 20253. You can also talk to the MTBA team on call via 0800 721 253 to access a range of quality and affordable health covers and medical checkup packages from the convenience of your phone.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
17 degrees and cloudy conditions. Looks like rain in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 15. At 15, it's mostly sunny in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 14. 13 degrees and partly sunny conditions in Nyeri, highs of 27 and lows of 13 as well. And it's sunny in Eldoret at 12, highs of 26 and lows of 11. Mostly sunny conditions is early morning in Mombasa at 25. We'll see highs of 32. We'll see highs of 31 in Malindi, where it's partly sunny currently at 25. Sunny conditions at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 28 today. 28 will also be high in a sunny Kakamega at 18, coming down to lows of 16. Kampala is mostly cloudy at 22, highs of 26, and it is now partly sunny after the rain in Dar es Salaam at 25. It'll go to highs of 31 today. Lagos, clear at 26, highs of 33, and it's sunny in Johannesburg at 13, highs of 27. We're looking into light rain in Kinshasa, highs of 33 and lows of 23.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
There's traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and it's coming into the city, and it's going way beyond Clayworks that still continue to do its thing there. We're looking at some traffic in Parklands, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th Parklands Avenue, coming off Limuru Road, in and outbound traffic. Folks going in that direction and coming into the city, still something there. Langata Road has piled up as well, and Kiambu Road still doing that magic this morning. What else are we looking at? On Jogo Road, it's also quite heavy. Kangundo Road, Juja Road, Manyanja Road, all connecting to Altering this morning. That is happening on Langata Road as well. Continues a few minutes after 7:30. Let's see what it looks like at the top of the hour. But for now, it's heavy. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can talk to us. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods. Let's talk about it. Text as well on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It
94.
is 24 minutes to 8. The conversation continues. So yesterday, the CS for Interior Coordination of National Government, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, led other cabinet secretaries, including the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury, the Cabinet Secretary for Information, ICT, Youth and Innovation, the Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, to brief the envoys from European Union countries on our election preparedness, on the efforts that have been put in place to have peace and security during the election period, and also to ensure a smooth transition of power after the August election. Now, the question is, does holding such a meeting to brief Western diplomats and Western powers amount to like ceding our sovereignty? Are we making ourselves, does it translate to we then sound like we are answerable to these powers? What if such a meeting was being held between Dr. Matiang'i and all these cabinet secretaries with the diplomats from the African Union?
Why do we need these optics? Our powers that be meet with these diplomats every other day and they discuss all manner of things, and it's never in the public domain. The elections are a big thing, I understand. So what are these optics supposed to convey? Forget the words that are being uttered. Everybody has some script that they're reading from. Yes, exactly. Okay, assurances, etc. But before I roll on that one, you asked a question. What if we had a meeting with AU envoys? Do you really think AU envoys would come, African,
I'm telling you, Kenya,
and talk to us about this?
Remember where the AU envoys are from? AU envoys are not from Europe.
They are from Africa. And Africa means they're from countries in Africa. Yeah.
So?
Okay, so imagine...
They come and speak to you in a manner
Let me give you
but they've said...
Let me give you perspective, Eric.
Give me perspective, please.
Okay. Imagine an African representative from Burkina Faso, okay, is among the group that has come here.
Yes. And at the end of this meeting, the African representative for Burkina Faso says, it is important for us partners as a group to interact very closely during this election time. It will help us better understand how the government is organizing itself to achieve its results and bring continuity to the process.
And we are keen on seeing how government is planning to ensure continuity during these polls.
Now, Eric, you've gotten my point exactly. Now, someone from Burkina Faso saying that the meanings, it means something completely different. And the same, he's saying, we've come to observe how you guys go about this thing, and we want to follow these examples so that we ourselves can have these smooth transitions that you people have. That's what it'll sound like.
Brothers.
And you'll say, brother, we welcome you. Let us show you how these things are done.
So same words would be translated differently.
100%.
Because, and I've very, very carefully used the word translated. It is how you translate, how you, the audience, will understand the same words. Now you're looking at who is saying it, and because this is a European Union envoy, you hear it differently from it was a Western African envoy?
It isn't because he is only a European Union envoy. It is because of the history we have with that particular part of the world. Somebody starts by talking about the safeguarding of investments. We get it. These are countries that have from time to time issued travel advisories against their own citizens, and the citizens ignore them and continue traveling and continue setting up businesses, ignoring them. Meaning, they are doing what they think is best for their citizens. They are doing best, but in doing best, they also tell us exactly how they see us. My brother from Burkina Faso does not see me in the same way as somebody who comes from the EU. That is what I am saying.
Your brother from Burkina Faso would not have issued a terror alert 2 weeks ago about some credible information that they have.
My brother from Burkina Faso has terror at his doorstep. He has more serious things to worry about than telling me about terror alerts in my own country.
Even our sister from Paris has the same kind of issues.
Yes, she does. And they have issues with immigrations. They have issues with the far right gaining foothold in their political sphere. They have issues.
And direct terror.
My own thing is that this one does not look like a partnership. And unfortunately, the language that has previously been used with the historical behavior does not show that it's always as though it's not an equal partnership. There always seems to be one above the other.
You're always a junior brother.
And you will always be. They are the ones who make the decisions. They will tell you how it's going to be. And then they come and urge you to operate in a certain way. And then on top of all of that, they ask you for a progress report. Because you're a development partner?
And you know, if you're just a junior brother, you can understand because somebody has to have an older and a senior sibling or that we get.
But this one, you're not even in the family, my friend.
Yes, but then you're not only treated as a younger sibling or distant relative, but you're treated as though you're a few eggs short of a dozen. Meaning the faculties are not all in place. That's why a whole group of people have to come and tell you the same thing.
Because essentially what they're telling you, even forget about all the flowery vocabulary, what they're telling you essentially is, okay, guys, you have an election coming up, We want to know how you guys are planning to have peaceful transition. We want to make sure that you're having free and fair elections because you know what? We are invested in this country as well, okay? We want to know how you're doing all of these things. And then, as you're doing all of them, we want you to report to us on a regular basis how these things are going ahead, okay? Okay, because there's the underlying if you do not. It's always there, unspoken or unconscious. If you do not, jijazie.
Meanwhile, as Dr. Matiang'i was having the meeting with the European envoys, on the other side, a core principle of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. You know the Kenya Kwanza one?
Just confused
Kenya
now.
Kwanza is UDA, ANC, Ford Kenya. Those ones are Kenya Kwanza.
Okay.
The Honorable Musalia Mudavadi was meeting Eric Needler, the U.S. charged d'affaires, and he tweeted and said, "Thank you very much, Eric Needler, for hosting me at your residence this afternoon. We had a discussion on matters of mutual interest to our countries."
Of course they did. You know.
So heading towards elections, we are all struggling to meet whichever foreign envoy we can meet.
Eric,
and not Somalia or South Sudan.
Eric,
nobody is struggling to go to.
Every one of us in this room,
Cape Verde,
has we all have friends. Okay, we all have friends. Now, maybe it is just a certain position that one takes because one is an African. Because I am an African and I see things as an African. Okay. If a friend of yours who has helped you on many occasions and whom you've also helped on many occasions, okay, comes to you, friend, now,
comes to your house,
okay, and then tells you, you know, Eric, that money that I lent you some times back and which you paid, and the other time when I started, when you know your child couldn't go to school and I helped you with school fees, okay, and then remember the other time also. When that cousin of yours got bitten by gives you a whole array of things that they've done to help you.
Yes.
Then tell you. Now, I just wanted to mention that, but while mentioning this, I also wanted to find out if it is possible for you to help me with this, and to give me assurances. How would that conversation go? Tell me.
It's natural, by the way. We have issues with it, but this happens.
Precisely. Now, will that person remain your friend for very long?
It's doubtful.
Let's talk about this. the entire scenario, as you've said, this is a friend whom you regularly call upon, to help you. You're running short, you need school fees, you have issues with paying rent on time, and so you run to them. And so this person basically comes and says, I've seen you running this business.
So let me help you organize your life.
So how is your business doing? Just let me know. How is this biashara doing? How are you managing your bookkeeping on a regular basis? Are you managing your cash flow?
Eric,
see, that's normal.
The way you've put it is not this.
But that is it.
It's not.
This person is not a partner in your business. What business is it of theirs if
This
you're
one-
running your cash flow, if you're managing,
Eric,
you're balancing your
this
books on a
one-
daily basis?
These ones are
if you're doing
partners in your
bookkeeping.
business. This business called Kenya United Incorporated Company Limited, okay? They are partners. That is why there's this quote from the UK High Commission, who it is mentioned sought assurances for foreign investments that foreign investments won't be negatively affected by pool activities. They are part and parcel of your investment portfolio. They are business partners with you. What I'm saying is this. One of the things that human beings, not just an African thing, human beings do not like. If you do them some good, they expect you to understand that they appreciate and they know. They don't want to be constantly reminded of it. The constant reminder is a constant reminder of the weakness they have, the failure they have,
And the strength that you may be trying to lord over them.
Now, somebody may say it isn't so. Actually, it is so.
It is.
So it's patronizing,
It's
basically.
almost
essentially
100% it is.
The CS for Interior, Dr. Matiang'i, has even held a meeting with other players in the political field in the country, not foreigners at all, Kenyans, and is given the same assurances on peace during this election. Listen to what he said last year.
For the next 12 months, we are going to do all the simulations, all the planning that we need to do, and ensure that we are ready to support a very, very peaceful electoral process in the country, so that we should never have the challenges we have had in the past. Why should it be that during every election year, we even have challenges in the economy because businesses are hurt and affected and so on? We are determined to make sure that this time around that does not happen. And I'm grateful to our Inspector General for the planning that he has shown us, the team that he has put together with the DIGs and the DCI. The work that has gone on is brilliant. I'm personally very satisfied and happy about it, and we'll continue to support you as you move
So here he was
along,
talking to
in
the
field.
security sector and telling them, look, we want to ensure that there is peace. We want to ensure that there is peace as we go towards the general election. Now he's talking to other development partners of the country and telling them, look, guys, as our friends, we'd like to assure you, we know your nationals are in this country. We know there are businesses that are business interests from your country that are here. There's investment here. We just also want to assure you, just like we've assured Kenyans as we're going around the country, everything is under control.
You see,
is it patronizing of our development partners to basically just seek a meeting with our government to say, okay, so what are you guys doing? How are your election preparations going on?
I also understand that when you have this public display of camaraderie, it is because other meetings have taken place and they've figured, okay, this is what we've agreed on. Let's have a public meeting where we can now tell the public that this is what we are agreeing on, this is what we're talking about, this is how we're going about it, etc., etc., etc. I understand all that. And I also understand that these foreign envoys are now saying, we understand what's going on here and we're hoping to support. And you will see the support being manifested in, say, groups of electoral or observers coming into the country to observe the elections. Electoral observers come and watch us queuing. There are few days in this country that are as peaceful as the days when we queue to vote. That is never the problem. The actual voting process, vote, is peaceful, pleasant. You might as well have a picnic and a party.
Right.
Everybody's chatting. Our problems arise after.
While we're waiting for the
Yes,
votes
that
to
is
be
where
counted.
that is where our problems always occur. And so you bring your observers, they will observe nothing. They will go back and say that hey, those elections were peaceful. And while we know, yes, they are always peaceful, the problem is never our voting. Our voting, we vote okay. Kenyans exercise their right. Then other people decide to exercise rights which we didn't ask them to exercise on our behalf, and then we suddenly have a problem. Why don't they address that if they're looking for something to address?
Maybe that's what they're addressing.
No.
Really? They're not addressing that the day of voting.
You know,
it's the election. The election process
is
the entire process, including campaigning, including preparations by the IEBC, including the preparations by the security agencies, including issues, for example, of communication. The CS4 ICT talked about, we see a lot of chatter on social media. And there's, all this pressure to start curtailing freedoms of people by, shutting down social media. And he said, we're not going to do that. This is a free democratic country, constitutionally guaranteed right of expression. There are laws in place that talk about when you go beyond the rights that you have. We'll apply those. But see, so this is a government basically that's just meeting with all its partners and saying, this is what we are. Maybe the next meeting is going to be with the EAC envoys and the African Union, you were talking about. And others, for example, the Russian ambassador or the Asian envoys also will have a meeting.
I think
Caribbean.
I think this is just one example of the very many conversations that are had around foreign influence and what it does, playing on state sovereignty or nation sovereignty. Because you always want to and ask yourself, when then will you ever be free then to operate? And I'm not just looking at it from the side of the partners or whomever they may be, but also from the side of these other countries who are often on the receiving end. How far are you going to cement your position as somebody who cannot be messed around with? That somebody will not be able to come to you and say, well, I hope you're doing 1, 2, 3. There's a certain level you attain that it doesn't matter who it is, cannot come to you and say, we want to ensure. We are keen to see how you are going to do 1, 2, 3. Because if I was a force that could be reckoned with, you wouldn't have to come and ask me those questions, number one. I've solidified my position. And you won't come to ask me questions because, do you think France and UK will go and ask China tomorrow? We are keen to know how you are operating as concerns human rights in this country. Do you think they would have that conversation? No.
See, Eric, there's also another baggage that unfortunately is latent in this conversation, and it's the baggage of colonialism. It doesn't go very far. You start the conversation and that comes to mind. You, for instance, don't hear. Do you ever hear, for instance, the Japanese government coming out to make comments like this? Never. Never, never, never. Do you think they don't express their views? They do.
They do.
But it's how they express them.
It's
I'm
what
sure
you
they
say.
do.
It's not what you say. It is how it is said. And that's what I'm saying. That the shackles seem to still be there. That it is even when you talk about a partnership, that it is not equal, that it's always this way, that there's always one that is above the other. And that's what I'm saying. If we on this other side of the pond will make sure that our position is so well solidified, and I mean that there's certain things that need to be done, systemic rot, 1, 2, 3, if you are sure of yourself, imagine you will not have that begging bowl, number one. Number two, you will not be somebody will not come to you and say we are keen, because then you have the opportunity to tell them, well, I'm sorry, but what are we talking? They wouldn't even have that conversation with you in the first place, because you have so solidified your position as a state that doesn't play around when it comes to its initiatives and things that it's doing for its people. But let me tell you something. In as much as there's that patronizing attitude that comes from this other side, we also have a whole hell of a lot of work to do in terms of getting our ducks in a row. Because if you had organized yourself properly, if you had made sure that the things that you are doing are right, whether it's in issues of democracy, human rights, development, etc., nobody's going to come to you and tell you to assure them
we have
that
made
you're
sure,
okay.
That's a point.
No.
We have made sure that we have all our ducks in a row in terms of preparing for this election. The same way the Germans had done this the last time, the same way the Americans had done it, the same way the French have done it before.
Please hear what I'm saying.
They have their ducks in a row.
And please hear what I'm saying. I'm not just talking about elections. Because of the fact that so many other things are not going right, that's why they can even come to you during an election period and say, you know what, guys, this is another election where things didn't go right. And you know we've invested in this country, so please organize yourself. The position that you have in terms of what you're able to do across sectors, education, health, development, infrastructure, etc., puts you in a particular position. Trade, contracts that you have, corruption, this, that, the other thing. So they're already looking at you like a lesser of in
Eric,
terms of position.
Eric,
that's why they can come to you and have this conversation with you.
And they were in country when we had the genocide in Rwanda. Right now we have a situation in Ukraine. Have you seen the jumping up and down that is going on?
Yeah, they're trying to push their side.
Precisely. You see, Ukraine matters.
Because?
Ukraine wanted to be part of the EU. It matters. Everybody plus their auntie and their cousins are talking about this thing. All I'm saying is there is a reality here. We are not equal partners. It's just let's start there. Okay? You can go into the reasons why we're not, but we are not.
Yes.
So let's not talk as though we are.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
but also, if you're going to tell us off and tell us exactly how and when to clean our noses, can you tell us these things quietly in private? The children don't have to know. Okay, that mommy and daddy are being told off in public.
How else am I going to exercise my power over you?
Quiet diplomacy.
If I do it quietly,
exercise power.
If I do it quietly, I do not demonstrate to everybody in your country that I've got the power over you.
Now, if that is the path that you choose to follow, then I will say we haven't even recovered from the structural adjustment program that was forced down our throats God knows how many decades ago. We are still recovering from it.
Yeah.
Did anybody come and admit and say, guys, we actually misadvised you?
No.
Are we still paying for it? Yes. So, when we say, folks, we appreciate that you guys have gone through some of these stages we're going through, and you've come out at the end of that particular tunnel understanding things a little more. If you must condescend with a little more plan. Let it not be too obvious. Okay?
Because of the position that you're in, I will go back to where I started.
I say fix the position.
You are so weak right now in your power. Just shut up. All right? When we summon you and we ask for reports, provide the reports. Are we together?
On this one, you are by yourself.
When we ask for reports, you provide the reports. If we ask you to tell us how many police officers you're going to deploy per polling station, you better tell us, plus their names, plus their service number, because that's what we want to know.
Should we just throw in the names of their wives and children?
And their pets.
That'll be much better. Thanks. This is what the CS for Interior has told us, Kenyans. When we're talking about peace, let's all remember this election. This is about our country.
I want to ask you, my brothers and sisters, you are Kenyans as much as we, your leaders, are, as much as those politicians are. Do not be intimidated, and let us not give in to anything that will hurt the stability and security of our country. This is our only home on earth. We have a duty to ensure that this country is stable, is secure, and Kenyans go about their
This was
activities.
him talking to security officers last year. Let's talk about securing the internet for our children.
All right. So, Communications Authority is trying to make sure that having the conversation where we're keeping children safe on the internet. There's so many threats that we face on the internet on a daily basis. So Cyber Soldiers was created, and it's a fun and interactive game where kids, young and old, can get to understand the threats that are on the internet and then how to deal with them, recognize them, who to go to, what to say, and how you can access these online safety tips is by playing Cyber Soldiers, and you can find it online.
Yep. www.ca.go.ke. That's www.ca.go.ke. You find on that homepage some tab called campaigns. Click on that tab for campaigns and then click on the tab for either play Cyber Soldiers or child online protection. The Cyber Soldiers is where the children can play that game and get to learn how to keep themselves safe and secure. Child Online Protection gives you the tips on what you can do to help your children stay safe while they are consuming the internet, when they are online. What do you need to do? Keep it right here for more conversations. Today is the International Childhood Cancer Day, and we have a guest with us in the studio to talk about International Childhood Cancer Day. What is it that we know about children who have been diagnosed with cancer, are going through cancer treatment across the country? Do we have the numbers? Do we have the figures? Are they getting all the support that they require? Is everything organized? Keep it right here for that. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Sasseto. Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has announced that teachers who will be handling the upcoming junior high school classes will undergo a fresh 10-month training. This after the introduction of junior high school level of education consisting of grade 7 and grade 8 under the new competency-based curriculum. CS Magoha noted that the 10-month training will take place between the months of February and December. The outgoing Law Society of Kenya Vice President Caroline Kamende has called upon legal fraternity to evaluate candidates seeking to be elected in various positions at the upcoming LSK elections scheduled for March 17th. Kamende, who has been an advocate for 16 years, has reiterated her commitment to continue redefining her role at the Law Society of Kenya as a champion of the welfare of advocates. Kamende was speaking in the wake of concerns raised by a section of lawyers wanting those who served under outgoing President Nelson Havi to withdraw their candidature for the forthcoming exercise. Now, fuel prices remain unchanged for the fourth consecutive month despite global oil prices surging to near record levels. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, says the prevailing prices will continue until the 14th of March this year, when the authority is expected to issue new prices. EPRA said the government will utilize the Petroleum Development Levy to cushion consumers from the otherwise current high prices. Non-deposit taking SACCOs have until June to start remitting new levy to the SACCO Society Regulatory Authority. The levy, to be charged at a rate of 0.165% or 8 million shillings for SACCOs, has faced major opposition from players. SASRA says it targets to collect 138 million shillings from the non-depositing SACCOs in the next financial year once the levy order is operationalized. And the High Court in Eldoret has cleared former Kerio Valley Development Authority Director David Kimosop of any wrongdoing during his tenure at the helm of the state agency. Judge Abuoda Nelson ruled that the only reason the board terminated Kimosop's contract was on the basis of perceived irregularities in KVDA. David Kimosop had sued KVDA after his removal as managing director in May 2019. The Kenya Film Classification Board has banned an Indian comedy film, Bodhal Do, over its depiction of homosexuality content contrary to the Kenyan constitution. According to the regulatory agency, the film violates Kenyan laws by airing inappropriate content that the board says is unsuitable for its audience. In a statement, KFCB said the film had been scrubbed from all media outlets within the country's borders and any broadcast of the same will be a violation of the law. KFCB labeled the film restricted, which according to its provisions means it is prohibited from exhibition, distribution, possession or broadcasting within the Republic of Kenya. And former Murang'a Senator Kembe Gitura has announced his interest to vie for the Murang'a senatorial seat, which is served during the first term of devolution. Kembe said he tendered his resignation as chairman of the Communications Authority of Kenya on February 8th so as to concentrate on campaigns to claim the political post he narrowly lost in 2017. He underscored the importance of the Senate, saying it plays a crucial part in devolution and the House needs committed leaders who will ensure people get fruits of the devolved administration. And the Service Party leader Mwangi Kiunjuri has called for the restoration of peace in the volatile Laikipia West constituency amid the resurgence of banditry attacks. This comes barely 3 weeks after the killing of a worker attached at the Laikipia Nature Conservancy and a police officer, while lamenting over increased cattle rustling and banditry attacks in Githega and Ol Moran wards. The former Agriculture Cabinet Secretary piled pressure on the government to redeploy National Police Service reservists to help restore sanity in the region. This is News. I am Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, still building up a few minutes after 8 o'clock, and now we're looking at traffic all over the city. Uhuru Highway from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out into Westlands. All of that is absolutely jam-packed in and outbound traffic. Jogo Road continues now. Landis Road today for the first time in a while. Bumper to bumper, in and outbound. Getting onto the Kamkunji roundabout and then onto Haile Selassie, which then eventually connects with Gong Road. That's an absolute mess. Aerodrome, everybody's using that. And then there's escape route to get off Langata Road and then get onto Uhuru Highway. Rilo Dinga Way also doing that thing this morning. We're looking at Limu Road, looking a little bit better now. Still some traffic there. Coming out of Westlands, Ring Road Westlands, no-go zone. If you can avoid it, please do. The Thika Superhighway has multiplied in terms of vehicle traffic. It's quite a lot here this morning. Kiambu Road also all the way to Coffee Gardens today, moving very, very slowly. How's that for a Tuesday morning? Juja Road also doing its thing this morning. Let's keep an eye on things on Spice FM. KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Good morning.
The
How
only
are
way
you
to
doing?
start
If
your...
you're just joining us, thank you very much for tuning in and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We are on Spice FM. We also live stream the show every morning on YouTube and Facebook. Our channel on YouTube is Spice FM KE and our page on Facebook is Spice FM KE. We're also on Twitter, Spice FM KE, on Instagram, same. Spice FM KE. For the next 1 hour, we are also going to be live on KTN Home. We begin this, as we begin every hour, with the day's proverb.
He may say he loves you, comma, wait and see what he does for you.
Full stop.
Full stop.
He may say he loves you, wait and see what he does for you.
Yes. The proof of this particular pudding is not in the eating, it's in the seeing.
Unachoma bwana. Unachoma bwana.
These liars.
Surely. Huh? But why he? Why did you decide to go that angle?
This is an African proverb.
Huh? Why not say he or she?
He. If you
Why don't you complain about other
too
proverbs?
much bias.
What I'm thinking of.
Which one? Like what? Mpigambizi.
Yeah, that one actually is neutral.
Yes.
Whoever dives has to sink. Yes. Your point is valid.
Thank you. Asante sana bwana.
Massage his ego a little wider.
Mechoma sana bwana. Let's talk about International Childhood Cancer Day. This day, the 15th of February, and every other 15th of February is International Childhood Cancer Day. Let's talk about that. And joining us in the studio to have this conversation with us is Sydney Chahonyo. Sydney is the board chair of an organization called Hope for Kids. Good morning, Sydney.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us in the Situation Room. I don't know how you want us to greet each other on this. Is it Happy International Childhood Cancer Day, or as we commemorate this International Childhood Cancer Day?
Either way is fine.
Right.
As long as people out there know that we are raising awareness about childhood cancer.
Tell us about your organization, Hope for Cancer Kids.
Hope for Cancer Kids was started as a support group for parents who had children with cancer at Kenyatta National Hospital. And that was in about 2008. And with time, they realized that the needs they had, when one parent goes to complain, you don't get much traction. But when you go as a group, a lot more is accomplished. So it was registered as a civil society. And we've been supporting children who from low privileged families that can't afford cancer treatment. And what we do is we register them for NHIF. We work with community health workers and the nurses in charge in a lot of public hospitals. And they tell us these are the kids that have been diagnosed and they can't afford cancer treatment. Even that 500 for NHIF, they cannot afford it. So we step in and we pay the NHIF premium. And then they're able to get cancer treatment in public hospitals. Right now, we are supporting about 150 kids per month to get cancer treatment. Aside from that, we're involved in advocacy. We are involved in raising awareness and also just navigating them through the system.
When you say kids, what age group are we talking about?
We deal with children and adolescents from 0 to 19. I think the youngest child we have supported was 3 months old.
What kind of prevalence are we looking at here, and what kinds of cancers are we looking at? For women, we're dealing with cervical and breast cancers as the top 2 in the country. What are we looking at for children now, and how bad is the situation?
Sadly, there are no childhood cancer registries in Kenya and a lot of low and middle income countries. So the numbers we get are extrapolated. We get worldwide about 400,000 children a year diagnosed with cancer. And the top cancers that we have in Kenya, we have Wilms tumor, we have retinoblastoma, which is a cancer of the eye. We also have a lot of blood cancers and lymphomas, dealing with the lymphatic system, Burkitt's lymphoma and non-Burkitt's lymphoma. Yes.
How exactly do you go about understanding where help is needed most, where prevalence of cancer is highest in the country?
Sadly enough, when it comes to chemotherapy, there are a lot of chemotherapy centers across the country. But when it comes to radiotherapy, there are very few public institutions that offer comprehensive cancer treatment, including radiotherapy. I think at the moment there's only 2 or 3. So for the longest time, anyone who had cancer and needed the radiotherapy was sent to Kenyatta National Hospital. So you find the bulk of the children, wherever they're from, at some point either end up at Kenyatta Hospital or in the private institutions for those who can afford.
Do other facilities across the country have this capacity to actually deal with this? Let's say now we have a KU teaching and referral hospital. We have Moi teaching and referral, or the county level 5s. Are they able to deal with childhood cancer?
Yes and no. When it comes to chemotherapy, which is basically just getting your cancer drugs through the IV, that's okay. When it comes to surgery at a certain level, some of them are able to cope with them. But when it comes to radiotherapy, it's very difficult because unless you have the machine, for example, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital does not have that machine. So we have a lot of kids from Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital that get referred to us and they have to come all the way to Nairobi for radiotherapy sessions.
Now tell us about how what a family goes through, all right? So you have a child, an adolescent, a 5-year-old, 6-year-old who has been diagnosed with cancer and they need to go through treatment. This is chemo. It's going to be done in KNH. You've got to travel to Nairobi. What do they go through? Just take us through that journey.
Before I say that, in terms of statistics, in developed countries, the childhood cancer survival rate is about 80%. Low and middle income countries such as Kenya, that rate is 20% and below, which means there are gaps that need to be filled. I myself am a cancer survivor. I had cancer at the age of 19. Luckily, my parents were able to afford the best cancer treatment in the country. Some of these kids who come from, whether it is Kisumu or Turkana or Isiolo or Lodwar, wherever they are in the country, number one, there's late diagnosis. That's one of the biggest issues when it comes to childhood cancer, because they will go to facilities where there are no trained oncology nurses, where there are no pediatric oncologists. So for me, it took about 6 months to get the right diagnosis. And this is in, the best hospitals in the country. So these children are told, you have cancer. They don't even understand what, cancer is. So these parents are referred to Kenyatta National Hospital, for example, and they have to come all the way to Nairobi. They don't know where they're going to sleep. They don't know what they're going to eat. They have to be here for weeks on end. Number one, the financial burden is very high. Secondly, the emotional burden of not really understanding. The doctors break these things down in very, very complicated terms. So they'll come to us and tell us, okay, I've been told about chemotherapy. What is that? So we walk them through that journey. Most people who have cancer will go through a combination of different treatments, including surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy. Aside from that, you have hormone therapies and other things. So there's a lot that the families go through, and there's a lot of strain. They say that families are pushed from poverty to extreme poverty when they get cancer, because a lot of the time it's diagnosed late, and that is the stage when it's most expensive to treat.
Why the late diagnosis? Are there factors affecting why you would not be able to tell that there was something wrong? Is it because we're looking at children, or why would that be so difficult to diagnose?
As I said, even for myself, it took about 6 months to get the right diagnosis. The symptoms cut across a wide range of diseases. I had flu symptoms, I had nose bleeding, I had very mild headaches. And I started going to see different doctors. I went to Nairobi Hospital, I went to Aga Khan, I went to very many different hospitals. And for about 6 months, I kept being treated for sinus issues until someone told me, why don't you go see an ENT? And I went to see an ENT, and as soon as I told him, he had a high index of suspicion. And he was like, okay, I think I know what this is. We need to do further tests. But not a lot of people have that opportunity, because at the end of the day, they're coming from maybe just a dispensary where they've been told, okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. They're treated for this. And then they're told all of a sudden, you need to go to Nairobi to do some tests. Not because we know what it is, but they don't even have the capacity to do those tests. And they're told it's going to cost this amount. So they either have to sell some assets, borrow money, find money somewhere to come to Nairobi and then to do the tests. So that is one of the main reasons for the late diagnosis. There's not a lot of training at the primary healthcare level, which is something the government has been trying to improve. But we need a lot more of that.
You talk about a particular set of cancers, the lymphomas, the blood cancers, the retinoblastoma that you talked about. If we can just take a moment to look at some of those symptoms, because now being symptomatic then might trigger some folks to say, okay, maybe this is something that I have to go check up on. So what are some things that you would see, or any parent would be able to see in children or caregivers in children, that could then say, maybe we need to have this looked at?
That's a good question. Number one, for retinoblastoma, which is a cancer of the eye, examine your children's eyes. Just be very keen. Keep looking at them. If there's anything that looks off, if you're seeing some strange reflections in the eyes, if the eyes are changing color, that is something definitely to be looked at. Aside from that, childhood cancer symptoms include, for example, lethargy. Like you have a child who is very, very active. All of a sudden, he doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to go outside. He just has no energy. That is something you should, look further into. Persistent headaches, persistent vomiting, swellings and lumps, bone pain. You just have to be very attentive to what your child is saying. A lot of the time we think, this one just doesn't want to go to school or whatever it is. But if it's something persistent and they're behaving in a way that they don't normally behave, because a lot of the time the child can't communicate properly. Like I told you, the youngest child we're supporting is 3 months. He's not going to tell you I have a headache. Right. So just be very attentive to your children. Look out for those signs. Anything that is out of the normal, even if it just seems like, it's just a nosebleed or it's just a headache, let me drink some water, take some Panadol. But if these things keep coming and coming and coming, it's definitely something to look at. Yeah.
We keep hearing of cases where, cancer patients have to travel, to Nairobi or to the major towns where the big facilities are, and then they have to join a queue because of the machines available. Let's say we're talking about radio and the machines available, there's a long queue for it. Do you have any preferential treatment that the children get? in such cases? Like, so this is a child, so we're going to give them maybe, going to help them jump the queue.
That is tricky. And I know what you're talking about, because about 3-4 years ago, the radiotherapy queue in Kenyatta National Hospital was about 2 years. And that is the treatment cycle. Some of those children, within 2 years, they won't be here anymore. And what has happened is the government has become very purposeful about increasing the centers where they can get treatment. Unfortunately, you will go to Kenyatta and there will still be a line. But it's getting better. There's more training going on, and they're also opening a lot of centers outside of Nairobi to kind of try and reduce those numbers. But at the end of the day, it is still a problem. For example, for NHIF, you know that you have to wait 3 months for it to be active. Luckily, with us, we have signed an MOU where they reduce it to 1 month for us. But sometimes that 1 month is still too long for the child to start getting treatment, depending on what type of cancer they have. So there are things that we are working on. We still have a long way to go, but at least we're moving in the right direction.
There's something that always puzzles me about cancer treatment, and that is, it seems to be on the increase. Is it that more people are being diagnosed with cancer, that we are better able to determine that it is cancer? Or is it something that is causing the rate of cancer to increase in the country? What is it?
I think it's a combination of what you were saying in terms of a lot more doctors are being trained, a lot more nurses, a lot more people at the primary healthcare level, whether it is a dispensary or a level 1 hospital or a level 2 hospital, to be able to have a higher suspicion of higher index suspicion. So basically, people are being trained, so you're catching more and more cases. I do believe, personally, I don't have facts to prove it, that there are a lot of people who used to die of cancer that was undiagnosed.
Sure.
And because, you're there in the village, you're told you have this thing, and people, they don't know what this cancer is, so they hide you in the house.
Witchcraft.
Yes, exactly. You did something bad or blah, blah, blah. And I believe that a lot more people have a higher index of suspicion at the primary healthcare level. So we are getting a lot more referrals. And there's a lot of advocacy going on. We go into the community, we talk to people in the villages, we have a lot of outreach. So we are trying to sensitize people at the grassroots level to know that this thing called cancer exists. This is what it is. It can be treated, but it has to be caught early. We're even telling people, if you go into the doctor's office and, for example, you've been treated for sinuses for 3, 4, 5, 6 months and nothing is happening, question the doctor, get a second opinion. We shouldn't look at doctors as gods as we used to. They used to be like teachers, or how we used to, when they tell you something, we should be able to question our doctor. We do have rights as patients. And that is something that we are trying to put into people's minds. But going back to your question, I do believe that it is increased training, a lot of advocacy in the civil society space, and basically just also being in the right place at the right time.
With diseases, there's always the discussion of the prevention aspects of it. Is there such an aspect with cancer?
There is such an aspect with cancer. You can take preventative measures. There are certain things that have been proven to increase your chances of getting cancer. Smoking, for example, increased alcohol intake, and also people promote, physical fitness, healthy lifestyle. Your immune system is healthier. If anything comes, it should be better equipped to fight it. But with children, they're too young for these environmental factors to have any impact. So by the time someone is 3 months old, you can't say it's because they were unfit or because, they were drinking or smoking. So with children, it's much trickier, which is why we have to be even more vigilant, because as an adult, you can do a breast exam, you can go and do your mammograms, you can go and get your prostate exam. But as a child, we just have to, continually look at how is this child developing, what are the things that are looking abnormal, and what can we do about them.
I think I'm still stuck on looking at the support then when it comes to treatment, radiotherapy and chemotherapy. We talked about the fact that chemotherapy available maybe countrywide, that wherever you are, you can have access to that. But unfortunately, the treatment is coupled, radio and chemo. And if we only have that available in 2-3 facilities in the country, then that's a huge challenge.
It is.
Where is support then? We've rolled out UHC the last 1 week. Where is the support, state support, for having a lot more facilities then with the radiotherapy element included?
Unfortunately, with radiotherapy, the machine is very expensive. And it takes a long, I think MTRH and Eldoret have been trying to get a radiotherapy machine for, I think, the last 5 years. But there's a lot of things that go into it, and there's a huge budget that comes with it, from human resource training to transfer of, knowledge in terms of technology and how to use it, to actually purchasing the actual machine, maintaining it, and things like that. What the government is doing, for example, in the National Cancer Control Strategy that was launched 5 years ago, I think this is the last year, every pillar has a write-up on childhood cancer and what should be done. So when it comes to on paper, these things are there. It's just now, it's been hard to implement because of budgetary issues and things like that. So I do believe that with time things will get better, but we also need to also not look at it as a government problem. We have a lot of corporates in Kenya. We have a lot of well-wishers. We have a lot of donors. Why don't we come together and make sure that at least in every, I wouldn't say county because those are too many, but we used to have 7 provinces in Kenya. Why not in every province can we have a radiotherapy machine, whereby someone doesn't have to travel all the way from Turkana to Nairobi to be here for a 30-day radiotherapy cycle, doesn't know where they're staying, doesn't know what they're going to eat, has 5 other kids at home. You've moved from a double income family to a single income family because the mother is now the primary caregiver. And if, for example, you had that close to home, you'd be able to still do your job, take care of the child, take care of the other children at home. We have cases where families are separating because you have 5 other kids at home. This is cancer. That kid is going to die anyway. Let's take care of these 5 other kids. And these are the mindsets that we're trying to change.
These are the difficult conversations that are taking place in households. Sydney, you've talked about very many things that the government is doing. Government has been working very hard at training more doctors in this. Government has been trying to increase the number of facilities that offer care for cancer patients. NHIF and revamping NHIF and making sure that NHIF can then finance a lot of these costs. But then you talk about the high capital expenditure that's required to get some of these machines. And that has been a bottleneck for the second largest referral facility in the country, Moi Teaching and Referral, has been trying to get a machine for the last 5 years, to the best of your knowledge. I mean, do you really buy that story that, it's been very difficult to get the resources to buy the equipment that is required to treat cancer, and we can see the increasing number of cases?
That is a tough question. I think there was an Abuja declaration in 2019 whereby countries decided that we are going to be at least 15% of GDP is going to go into healthcare. I think by 2020, Kenya was only putting in 5%. And when we say healthcare, we mean healthcare across the board. Not cancer specifically, not childhood cancer, healthcare across the board. So what happens then and how is it allocated between the different diseases? Non-communicable diseases, HIV and AIDS, things like that. I think what needs to happen is we need to have an approach where, like 10 years ago, everything on the radio, on TV was about HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
There was a lot of push by the government to go out into the international community and get funding to start producing, making HIVs freely available. Right now, people are living 20, 30, 40 years with HIV. It's not a big thing anymore. So I believe we need to take that approach and say we need to push in as much funding as possible so that we can train more doctors, create more awareness, and have these facilities fully equipped to be able to comprehensively cover cancer. And what I'm pushing for is for the government to join the Global Initiative for Childhood Cancer, whereby WHO is trying to increase the survival rate of children worldwide to 60%. As I told you, in Kenya, it's about 20% and below. So something like that would really help when it comes to childhood cancer and cancer in general. Because now you put in systems and structures, but also bring in the funding that is needed to push cancer to the next level, childhood cancer care to the next level.
Let's take a break. Today is International Childhood Cancer Day, and we're highlighting the childhood cancer. Joining us in the studio is Sydney Chahonyo, the board chair of an organization called Hope for Cancer Kids. They work with families. They support children who are undergoing treatment for cancer across the country. And we're talking about the prevalence. We're talking about the support that they require. We're talking about the numbers, the challenges that people go through. Time for a break. 29 after 8. We'll be back shortly on KTN Home, SpiceFM and online.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
.20 degrees and cloudy in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 15 today. At 17, Nakuru is sunny, going to highs of 28 and lows of 14. We'll see 13 as the low in Nyeri. It's partly sunny this morning at 16, highs of 27. 26 will be the high in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 17, and we'll see lows of 11. In Mombasa, partly sunny at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 25. While in Malindi, it's partly sunny at 27. It's going to go to highs of 31 and lows of 25. Kisumu, sunny at 22, highs of 28, while in Kakamega at 22, it's sunny as well. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 16. In Kampala, it's raining now at 21, highs of 26, and it's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 26, highs of 31 today. Lagos, partly cloudy conditions at 26, highs of 33, and in Johannesburg, it's mostly sunny at 15, highs of 26 and lows of 14. 24 will be the low in a sunny Kinshasa, going to highs of 34.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
Ceci, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has anybody that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, still continues in many parts of the city. Uhuru Highway taking some major action today, coming off Langata Road. We're also seeing the Thika Superhighway letting up just a little bit, just past the drive-in, Mathari North Road then, going then towards Survey. In and outbound traffic continues on Kiambu Road as it does on Limuru Road. That had sorted out for some time, but it looks like we're back there now. Coming out of Westlands, hot and heavy situation through and through. Still in traffic hour. We'll see what happens in about... half an hour there, but the CBD is the busiest place you'll see this morning. Let's take it easy as we go and traverse these roads. Talk to us where you might be stuck this morning, or you find a good route for folks to use. Do that. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
Okay, 26 minutes to 9. The conversation continues on this International Childhood Cancer Day. Our guest in the studio this morning is Sydney Chahonyo, board chair of the organization called Hope for Cancer Kids. They support children who are undergoing treatment for various types of cancer. And Sydney, you're telling us that one of the things that you do is those that are unable, you help them to raise the money to for NHIF, to subscribe for NHIF. So then it sounds like NHIF is really doing a good job or a big job in helping to finance the cost of treatment for cancer. Tell us about that.
Yes, we do support the children by paying their monthly premiums, and then they're able to get NHIF support in various public hospitals and get comprehensive cancer treatment. However, NHIF is limited. For example, you cannot register a child on NHIF. You have to register them under their parent. I come from a family that has 6 children. So that money is limited.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, NHIF, for example, limits to 6 surgeries in a year, I think. So let's say there's this one thing called examination under anesthesia, which is a diagnostic test for a type of cancer. And you need about 2-3 of those every couple of months. And it's termed as a surgery. So you can only have 6 surgeries in a year. All of a sudden, maybe someone else gets sick and needs surgery, someone gets into an accident. So there are limits to what NHIF can do. They're doing a very good job. But a lot of things, for example, last week I had a child who was 17-year-old. He has cancer and he needed 33 sessions of radiotherapy. And NHIF caps it at 20 sessions. Mm-hmm. So he finished his 20 sessions. He was supposed to continue on World Cancer Day, actually. On the 4th, he was supposed to do his 21st session. He didn't have the money. He reached out to us and we had to look for donors to come and support him and raise, I think it was 54,000 for the remaining 13 sessions. So NHIF is doing a good job, but a lot more can be done. I'm not saying it's a government problem. Mm-hmm. It's a problem that involves each and every one of us, whether it is the civil society, the government, NGOs, private institutions, corporates. We need to find a way to work together to make these things happen, which is why we partner a lot with organizations such as, for example, Lions Club International. Last year, they gave us enough money to support, I think it was 700 kids for the whole year. Some of these other things out of pocket, transport, accommodation, and things like that, still have to be paid for. You reach a point where your NHIF reaches its limit. You have begged, you have sold land, you have done everything you can. Your own relatives are not even picking your calls anymore. And you still have, to treat for cancer. And the longer you stay between treatments, the worse it gets. Another issue we face, especially with children, is nutritional support. When you're in the hospital, you're getting 3 square meals a day. You're getting supplements. All of a sudden, you go home after one cycle of chemo to come back a couple of months later, and you're coming back in a worse state than when you left the hospital. Yeah. Not necessarily because you're not getting treatment, but even at home, what are you eating? Are you getting 3 square meals a day? So there are a lot of issues that go into that, and I do believe improvements could be made to the NHIF system, but also we also need to find other ways of making this holistic cancer care available across the country.
In your experience, what would you say is the success rate of cancer treatment in Kenya?
When it comes to childhood cancer,
yes.
As I said, in developed countries, success rate is 80%, the survival rate.
Yes.
In low and middle income countries such as Kenya, it's 20% and below. Why is this? Late diagnosis, lack of access to treatment. Sometimes it's treatment abandonment because you have reached your end. You need another 60,000 to go for the next session. You don't have it. You've sold your shamba. So you just abandon treatment, keep the child in the house. We have cases where people abandon their kids in the hospital and say, okay, let me go back home and look for money. At least here I know he'll be taken care of. When I'll get to the bill when I get to the bill. So a lot of it is financial pressure on their families that cause them to abandon treatment. Yes.
It's rather daunting when you think about it, the enormity of it. And how many radiation machines did you say we have in this country?
Pardon?
Radiation. Radiotherapy.
Radiotherapy machines are plenty in private institutions.
There are plenty.
Yes. A lot of private institutions have them. In the public space, where more than, I think, in my opinion, 70% of the population would go, at the moment, I think we have 3 or 4 functioning radiotherapy machines in different centers.
So the president was launching one in Mombasa last week as he was rolling out the upscaling of universal health coverage.
At Portrees?
Yeah. So there's one. MTRH, let's say, has come online. Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral, have been talking about having one.
Kenyatta
Hospital then has. So you ask yourself, and this is a question that Dr. George Gott, our friend from Kisumu, is saying, the country desperately needs equity in the distribution of national teaching and referral hospitals. For example, for 60 years after independence, why are we just proud of KNH, MTRH, KU, teaching and referral? That's not enough. How about in the other countries? How about in other places? Even talking about the cancer centers. Plans are still in plans to have those centers developed in Mombasa, in Nakuru, in Garissa, and other parts of the country. It's like you're saying, it's not only a government problem, but who else needs to sit around the table and have this conversation so that we can speed up this?
The government has been gracious enough over the last couple of years. We used to make a lot of noise and, they just used to push us aside. But they have realized that the civil society has a big say, because a lot of the time we deal with the patients one-on-one and we understand their needs better. So when they were developing the last National Cancer Control Program plan, the strategy, they invited a lot of civil society organizations. Let's sit down, let's find out what the needs are, what we need to do, and how we, draft the strategy. So we had input there. So they're starting to, invite us to these decision-making forums. At the end of the day, we also have, sadly, the international community. I really believe that we should be able to sort out a lot of these problems in-house.
Isn't it?
But the international community has a lot of goodwill. As long as it's a good program and it's making an impact, a social impact. We do have a lot of donors from outside who want to do things in Kenya, come into the country. Sometimes they get frustrated because, of the systems and structures that are in place.
Yes.
But you also have a lot of international organizations doing a lot in Kenya. But where are the corporates?
Corporates.
Are the Chandaria Industries? Where are the Safaricom foundations? I understand that a lot of people have different goals, different visions, and different things that they support. But cancer is one of the top 3 leading causes of death, among the top 3, whether it is adult cancers or childhood cancers. How much money have you spent on COVID-19?
Right.
It's killing a fraction of the people. Every 3 minutes worldwide, a child dies of cancer. Every 3 minutes. We don't know the statistics in Kenya because there's no childhood cancer registry.
Sure.
And there's also no national cancer registry. There are 2 or 3 registries in the country, but we need to get a lot more information. We need to get a lot more research done to push for, because a lot of the time you'll go and say this needs to be done. You'll approach, let's say, the government or whoever it is you approach, and they say, give us the numbers.
Right.
Prove
for
it.
them to.
Yes.
So even as you say this, a national cancer registry for children, a national cancer registry for cancer.
Integrated, yes.
Integrated.
Yes.
What or how would we benefit from having a children's cancer program instituted by government, supported by others, whether those are internal or external supporters? What do you see that it would allow to do? Because I'm just looking at all the things that we've said that pose as challenges today, from getting these young ones treated when they unfortunately do get cancer. What would be the benefits of instituting a program from government level?
What happens is, number one, if a lot of things that we are trying to do need a lot of goodwill from the government, support from the government. So even if I'm doing something in the civil society, there are times when I need certain concessions from the government or this to be done, or even just, to have an open door.
Sure.
To walk in and talk to them about the challenges we are facing. So what this would do is, number one, if you have a national cancer registry, you have the actual statistics. And then you can go back and say, okay, look, X amount of children are dying from cancer. I think right now, the extrapolated data says that out of about 47,000 cancer cases in Kenya, we have 38,000 deaths. These are extrapolated, and not all cancer cases have been reported. So we need those statistics so that we can be able to say, this is what we need to drive.
Or in this particular area, we have a higher prevalence of cancer.
Yes.
How about we invest in a machine?
Yes. Or even, this area has a prevalence of this particular kind of cancer.
Right.
Why is that the case? And then you also have an integrated system where I am treated in MTRH. I'm referred to KNH. A lot of the time, a doctor will say, we need to do our own tests here to verify this and that and that. So that's another out-of-pocket expense. If we had an integrated system whereby you go to, you are diagnosed at, Nairobi Hospital. You went to Mater Hospital for this test. You went to Aga Khan for surgery. So that by the time even the doctor is getting you information, even if you were treated in a dispensary somewhere out there, there's a history of something.
Right.
So that high index of suspicion, this plus this plus this, there must be something else. So that we can start catching these cases early. But also at the same time, to be able to drive the push for more funding to be put into these programs. Yes.
Preventative care is often something that we talk about. There's certain things that you can do that could, fend off disease. Are we looking at the same? And preventative care has also been mentioned when it comes to cancers. Even though you may not know the cause of it, that maybe there are certain things that you could adopt that could then later on prevent. We've seen HPV for cervical cancer, for example. When we're looking at child cancers, is it possible, if you have a 3-month-old, what would you have done in 3 months to prevent this child from getting it? Is there the preventative outlook here
as I said before, when it comes to children, studies have been done that say that as a child, the environmental factors have very little or no bearing on you getting cancer. A lot of the time they say it is just because of their increased growth. They have a higher chance also of the cells dividing abnormally. And studies have been done that say this and say that. So in terms of preventative measures for children, there's very little you can do. Aside from that, you mentioned the HPV vaccine. It is being rolled out for free in public institutions. It's targeting girls aged 10 to 14. Cervical cancer takes about 10 years to develop. So by the time it has turned into cervical cancer, something has been in your system for about 10 years. This HPV vaccine will come in and limit your chances of getting that cancer. By the way, there are about 5 other cancers that it also protects against.
Right.
Cancer of the vulva, I forget the rest, but there are about 5 other cancers that it also protects from. And these are some of the things that we need to start looking at. But also, I think just going out there into the community and telling people cancer exists. It is real. But if it is caught early, detected early, and you have access to treatment, it can be treated at a relatively cheaper cost. And that is the message I think that we need to push out there, that cancer is out there, but it is treatable. And we need to find a way to integrate these systems in a way that people are working together as opposed to, I'm trying to do this, or, oh, government, you're not doing anything. We need to find a way to work together.
Sure.
Because it falls on all of us.
What do we need to do to improve early detection?
70%, about 70 to 80% of childhood cancer cases are recorded in low and middle income countries, such as most of the countries in Africa. And that at-risk population, we know that in Africa, I think there's a large proportion of people under the age of 35. This is the workforce. And if you lose these children are precious. That is why the gold ribbon for childhood cancer is golden. This is our future. What do we need to do to improve this? We need to have a lot more dialogue, number one. Open dialogue, starting from the ground up. Starting from the support group of the parents who have cancer. They know the needs they have. They know the gaps in the system. Yes, the government is doing this, but can we sit down with this group of people and find out where exactly the problem is, where exactly the need is, so we know how better to focus our efforts. As I said, unfortunately, it also comes down to finances. We need to invest a lot more into healthcare and into cancer specifically. Because at the end of the day, if you catch cancer early, it's much, much cheaper to treat. So a lot of the people who are being diagnosed right now are being diagnosed in the late stages, stage 3, stage 4. Well, it's very expensive, and NHIF cannot cover it. But if you caught it early, most likely you would have had a shorter treatment cycle, and you would have had less invasive treatment. Therefore, you're catching it early and you're treating it at a cheaper rate.
Right.
So we even need to talk to the insurance companies. For the longest time, there was a time I was trying to apply for insurance. I went to 3-4 different insurance companies, and the minute they see cancer, they write you off. Obviously, they don't tell you we're denying it because you have cancer, but it's very evident. So we need to get all these parties on board: private, public, even the international community. We have WHO representatives in Kenya. Have we reached out to them as government to see how best we can work together? Which is why I'm pushing for Kenya to apply to be one of the pilot countries in the Global Initiative for Childhood Cancer, because there's a WHO rep here. WHO has a goal to increase childhood cancer rate to 60%. Where's the connection?
In fact, now that you've raised that important question, let me raise another one. We have in our universities certain institutions that train our medics, our medical doctors, our clinical officers, our nurses, and specifically the universities. Do you know of the extent to which these universities that teach these courses in medicine encourage research into cancer? I'm mentioning research because I know with research, a lot of the problems that we're talking about get nipped in the bud, because your understanding of the disease becomes greater than it normally is. Do we have such a preponderance? Do we have such a move in this country where there's a growing interest in research? Because one of the things that, if you look at research funding around the world, specifically in the US, National Institute of Health, there's a lot of funding for cancer research. Do you think that our institution, do you know if we take advantage of some of these things?
Yes, research is pivotal because at the end of the day, it drives the decisions that are made.
Yes.
It brings the pertinent issues on the table. Right now, as I said, there's not much research being done, especially when it comes to childhood cancer. And these are some of the reasons why when you approach people to say we need to do this, they ask why. And you go and you say that we need to do more research into this to find out, to drive the decisions that are being made or to push the drive for ABC, X, Y, Z. A lot of the research, even these statistics, a lot of them that we get, if you look at any papers on childhood cancer in Kenya, there's maybe 1 or 2 studies that have been done. Okay, maybe more than 1 or 2. But the proportion is very low.
The impactful ones are literally that 1 or 2. The ones you look at and you say, okay, detail went into this, somebody bothered to actually try and give this thing a broad-based approach,
Yes. And which is why, sadly, I keep going back to the government. And yes, these institutions, civil society organizations, we need to push for more research to be done into cancer in Kenya, and specifically, I'm biased, childhood cancer.
Sure.
Yep. Several comments coming in from doctors who are tuned in this morning. Dr. Abi Mwachi says it would help to have specific centers of excellence spread across the country. It's unreasonably expensive to imagine that each county can have the capacity to treat all diseases. So if we said, for example, in this region, we have this facility that is a center of excellence for these type of diseases based on the disease prevalence and the disease burden in those areas, then that makes it cheaper and more easier to distribute. Dr. Ero says strengthening primary healthcare would capture early diagnosis of cancer, and this includes sensitization, educating a community about predisposing factors. I studied in a country which had annual compulsory screening of so many things, and foreigners were not left out. And then also Dr. Okoh says he's a practicing head and neck cancer surgeon, and he says, I'll tell you for free. This foundation of an effective cancer care system is an effectively working government hospital system that's staffed with qualified doctors to the lowest levels, at least to the health center level. Machines will not replace the proper human clinical acumen that eventually selects targeted investigations. So long as our public hospitals are not working optimally, no machine will help us turn the tide. There cannot be an isolated functional cancer care system without an effective public hospital system.
I think that's very interesting. And then going on to probably the next question is because, again, last week we've seen the national rollout of UHC. And here we are saying that there's this, swanky new system that we're going to be able to use to treat and then to also offer healthcare in the country. But the infrastructure then, greatly lacking. And I continue to have a struggle with that. So here we are saying that there is this huge need in this particular part of the population. But then the infrastructure is lacking then in how we're going to be able to deliver this. Are these some of the challenges that you see? And what would you hope then that UHC would provide in terms of additional care for these children?
UHC is a very good concept. I like what Dr. said when he said, at the end of the day, you can have all the machines. But if you don't have proper training at the primary healthcare level, if you don't have enough medical, pediatric oncologists, radiotherapy technicians, if you don't have the workforce to, number one, catch it early and be able to find out the best way of treating it, then yes, the machine is not going to help much. But at the end of the day, if you have the best doctor, you've diagnosed it early, you've caught it early, you know what kind of treatment you need radiotherapy, you refer me to KNH, I'm waiting there for 6 months to start my radiotherapy. Some of these cancers in children can double in 1 week. So it's a holistic approach that is needed. And as I said before, yes, it would be too expensive to have it in every county, a radiotherapy machine. But if you look at the old system of provinces, we have more than 7 radiotherapy machines in the country, just that most of them are in private hospitals, which not many people can afford. If you tell me to go and do a PET scan, and I don't even want to mention the amount of money that it costs to get a PET scan. Who's going to afford that?
How much is it to get a PET scan? How much is it to get a PET scan?
I think it was something like 60,000 at the minimum. I stand to be corrected. And this is new technology that can help better diagnose and, catch things earlier.
Yeah.
And
Sydney, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
I know we are getting to almost the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Can I ask that one question?
Yeah, ask after we come out of this.
Okay.
All right. So first, let's say goodbye to the audience on KTN Home who've been with us since the top of the hour. The conversation continues on SpiceFM. Our guest is Sydney Chahonyo. He is the board chair of the Hope for Cancer Kids. We're talking about the International Childhood Cancer Day. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, ask the question.
There is a body, a statutory body, called the National Cancer Institute of Kenya.
Yes.
And here I read, their mission is to oversee the delivery of responsive, high-quality, sustainable, and evidence-based cancer prevention and control. Now, how do you relate to this organization, and how wide is its reach, and how responsive are they to the needs that we currently have in the country with regards to cancer?
As we wind up the conversation.
Yes, I am aware of the National Cancer Institute, and we have been in discussions to see how best we can approach childhood cancer in Kenya. They are responsive. They do have an open door policy. But at the end of the day, it's about evidence-based solutions. And as we were discussing earlier, there's not a lot of research that has been done into childhood cancer in Kenya. into cancer in Kenya. So that is one of the things I would throw back into their court. Can we fund more research? Can we start getting more grants that are basically specifically researching cancer, its effects, the prevalence, so that we can then be able to see what can be done about it to improve the situation.
Sydney, we thank you very much for coming this morning. There's a lot that you've shared with us. There's a lot that we get to learn on a daily basis when we have guests such as yourselves in the studio. Today is International Childhood Cancer Day, and we've been talking about childhood cancer in the country and the prevalence and what's happening. Our guest, Sydney Chahonyo, board chair of the Hope for Cancer Kids. And thank you for all the good work that you're doing, Sydney.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Asante sana. Keep it right here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room will reflect what's happening in the country, what's happening in the world. In the next hour, we have conversations where we open up the phone lines, and our lines are 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. A very good morning to you. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee to respond to comments she made alleging vote rigging in the 2017 election that propelled President Uhuru Kenyatta to victory. Sabina, who was wooing supporters to the Azimio la Umoja camp at a rally in Vihiga County, said there was some truth in vote rigging in the 2017 election and that the same could happen in this year's elections. The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission summed her over the remarks in a letter sent on Friday. President Uhuru Kenyatta is on a 3-day working visit in the United Arab Emirates focused on strengthening trade ties between Kenya and the Gulf state. Briefing the press in Dubai ahead of the president's arrival, Kenya's ambassador to the UAE, Kariuki Mugwe, indicated that gracing a high-level business forum presiding over the Kenya National Day and the Expo 2020 Dubai and bilateral talks with the UAE leadership will crown the president's visit to the Gulf state. Ambassador Mugwe said the President Kenyatta will officially open the high-level Kenya-UAE Business Forum and later have bilateral engagements with the UAE leadership. Now, scientists have concluded the torrent of man-made chemical and plastic waste worldwide has massively exceeded limits safe for humanity or the planet, and production caps are urgently needed. There are an estimated 350,000 different manufactured chemicals on the market, and large volumes of them end up in the environment. UN Environment Program Head Inga Anderson says the study comes ahead of a UN meeting in Nairobi at the end of the month on tackling plastic pollution from source to sea. And Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has announced that teachers who will be handling the upcoming junior high school classes will undergo a fresh 10-month training. This after the introduction of junior high school levels of education consisting of grade 7 and grade 8 under the new competency-based curriculum. CS Magoha noted that the 10-month training will take place between the months of February and December. The outgoing Law Society of Kenya Vice President Caroline Kamende has called upon legal fraternity to evaluate candidates seeking to be elected in various positions at the upcoming LSK elections scheduled for March 17th. Kamende, who has been an advocate for 16 years, has reiterated her commitment to continue redefining her role at the Law Society of Kenya as the champion of the welfare of advocates. Kamende was speaking in the wake of concerns raised by a section of lawyers wanting those who served under outgoing President Nelson Havi to withdraw their candidature for the forthcoming elections. And fuel prices remain unchanged for the fourth consecutive month despite global oil prices surging to near record levels. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, says the prevailing prices will continue until the 14th of March this year, when the authority is expected to issue new prices. EPRA said the government will utilize the Petroleum Development Levy to cushion consumers from the otherwise current high prices. Non-deposit taking SACCOs have until June to start remitting new levies to the SACCO Society's Regulatory Authority, SASRA. The levy to be charged at a rate of 0.165% or 8 million shillings for SACCOs has faced major opposition from players. SASRA says it targets to collect 138 million shillings from the non-depositing SACCOs in the next financial year once the levy order is operationalized. And the High Court in Eldoret has cleared former Kerio Valley Development Authority Director David Kimosop of any wrongdoing during his tenure at the helm of the state agency. Judge Abodha Nelson ruled that the only reason the board terminated Kimosop's contract was on the basis of perceived irregularities in KVDA. David Kimosop had sued KVDA after his removal as managing director in May 2019. And the former Murang'a Senator Kembe Gitura has announced his interest to vie for Murang'a senatorial seat, which he served during the first time of devolution. Kembe said that he tendered his resignation as chairman of Communication Authority of Kenya on February 8th so as to concentrate on campaigns to claim the political seat he narrowly lost in 2017. He underscored the importance of the Senate, saying it plays a crucial part in devolution and the House needs committed leaders who will ensure people get fruits of the devolved administration. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
There's traffic on Uhuru Highway this morning. It's getting into the city and then out towards Westland. Still very, very heavy. Also looking at it on Gong Road today, going inbound to the city. Always Hurlingham, that area, we've got some traffic moving very, very slowly as well. Thika Superhighway looking a little bit better just at the Utali Drift now. And then Kiambu Road. There's a part of Kiambu Road, there's no traffic. And then you're going to get to the DCI and then hang out towards Pipeline Estates, and it's very slow towards Coffee Gardens. What else are we looking at? Most parts of the city looks all right. Langata Road, of course, doing its thing, at least for now. Coming out of Westlands on Waiaki Way, use the Red Hill Link Road if that is a bit too sticky for you. It should be over in a short while. Ring Road Westlands actually continues with traffic this morning, a few minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's take a look in half an hour and see what it looks like. Talk to us, guys, on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is The Situation Room, and we're getting into the final hour of the show this Tuesday morning, and CT has some bad news.
Ooh. No. Factual news. He may say, they may say, she may say, he loves you, she loves you.
They love you.
They love you. Comma. Wait and see what he, they, she does for you. Is that adequately friendly now?
Politically correct proverb. My goodness.
Okay, now let me get African on it. He may say he loves you. Wait and see what he does for you.
And this is the day, eh? This the day after Valentine is when now you start seeing those things.
Which things are those now?
What he does for you.
Oh, it's not on the day. People who were dying yesterday because they were not bought flour.
On the day, those are the days he says.
Bas. So the day after is when he begins to do. If he doesn't do, those things he told you, on the Valentine's Day, that's now when the real depression will set in.
You see, buying a flower and chocolate is not doing anything.
Flower will die, chocolate you will eat, it will finish. Now, the words.
Actually, it's more relevant after the day.
Abi?
It's because now you can reflect.
That's it. And now you see if the things that the chocolate and what do they buy again?
Flowers.
That they buy that are supposed to represent.
No.
What? Now is when you begin to see.
Okay.
Thinking about those other people and what they do.
What do they buy? Okay. The visitors from the other planet, when they come here, what do they buy? Okay, carry on. We're talking about aliens.
It is the day after that you'll be able to see whether those things he said are actually, or she said, are actually true. When all the razzmatazz is gone and all the drapings are down, that's when you'll be able to see.
You know, we live in an era where there's a day for everything. A specific day in the year for the whole world knows this is a day we celebrate A, B, C, D. Okay? World Cancer Day to remind us. World Left-Handed People Day.
There is actually a day like that.
There's a day for everything, I'm telling you. There's a day for everything nowadays. Now, I understand. But somehow, this Valentine's Day has got so much momentum. And then there's an industry supporting it. So, it's like Christmas.
This one has people depressed more than Christmas.
Biashara. True commercial, man.
And when commerce pushes an agenda, my friend,
when it gets to a point where even land buying companies, land selling companies have joined the bandwagon.
They're giving you Valentine offers.
The best,
the commercialization
the best
of
way
love
to show love
is to buy her a plot.
Buy her a plot. There's an advert here, all in red. Nothing says love better than a home. Buy a house for 5.26 million shillings. It has modern open plan kitchen, defined dining area, blah, blah, blah. Quarter page advert. Anyway, let's get back to serious business, okay?
And what we're discussing is not serious.
No, this is
let's get on to something equally serious.
Equally serious.
Yes. All right.
Now, we looked at a story. I'm going to read the story again. And this is a story of Mzee Hussein Hassan, 67 years old, from Tana River County. Okay? Mzee Hassan had developed a growth in his stomach that emerged months after he had undergone an operation 11 months ago at the Tana River County Referral Hospital in Hola. Now, 11 months ago, undergo surgery. Develop some swelling. Then Mzee on Friday collapsed at about 8 p.m. The family rushed him to the Hola Referral Hospital where he underwent an operation. This is according to his brother Abdi. The second operation was successful, but doctors realized that the patient was still in critical condition, and to help him recover, he had to be placed in an ICU. This is where the story begins. The rest was introduction. Mzee Hussein Hassan, age 67 years old, just 3 years older than CT Muga, undergoes operation. 4.
2.
2.
3.
How old is he?
67. 4. You count your birthday. You don't go until the day of your birthday.
I am 63 years
turning
old.
64 in.
And by the way, that's just it. There's no home age, there's no school age, there's no work age.
This is the
just,
age.
It is 8. It's
this is not your football playing age.
No. It's aggregated. 63.
Sawa. So some 3.5 years older than City Muga. Okay? Mzee is from Tana River County. 11 months ago, Mzee undergoes an operation at Hola Referral Hospital. Mzee goes home. On Friday, he developed some swelling on the stomach where he had undergone the operation. He collapses on Friday at about 8 p.m. He's rushed to the hospital. Doctors see him. He undergoes a surgery. Surgery successful, but doctors say we need to put him in intensive care. Problem number 1. Hola referral hospital, the level 5 hospital of Tana River County, does not have an ICU facility. Problem number 2, if the referral hospital of the county does not have an ICU facility, unafikiri utapata wapi kwa hiyo county? You don't get. So the doctors now get into a frantic search for an available ICU facility in a nearby county.
Right.
The hospital administration calls. They don't get one. Doctor finds, remembers he has a friend who works at Chogoria Hospital. Chogoria Hospital is in Tharaka Nithi County, which is some 488 kilometers from Hola. Doctor calls friend at Chogoria. Friend at Chogoria says, yes, I have an available ICU facility. If the patient can come, we can reserve it for them. Doctor tells family, available facility, Chogoria. Okay? Family says, sawa. Now, the patient cannot just be put in a matatu or a taxi pro box and transported.
No.
He needs an ICU-equipped ambulance, which means that it requires oxygen. So they look now for an ambulance that has oxygen. They spend how many hours waiting for that? 6 hours. More than 6 hours to get an ambulance and an oxygen tank. They get one. They start the journey. From Hola to Chogoria, you head towards Garissa. Get to Madogo, they near the border with Tana River and Garissa at the border. Join the Garissa-Nairobi road. Come towards Nairobi. Get to Mwingi. Continue. Crossover from that. Mwingi is in Kitui County. We have come from Tana River, touched Garissa, come to Mwingi. Get to Mwingi, you are in Kitui County. Crossover into Machakos, get to Matu. By the time they're getting to Matu, that oxygen tank that they left with finished. So they go to the Matu hospital in Machakos County. We're transporting this patient and we're looking for an ICU facility in Chogoria. Can you help us? The staff at Matu actually help them. They give them oxygen and ambulance. So they leave Matu. This is Machakos County. They cross over into Embu. They're heading towards Chogoria in Tharaka Nithi. When they get to a point in Embu, the old man musters all the energy that he had left. He has his brother at the back of the ambulance. Holds the brother tightly, clasps him tightly, releases, and goes. He died. The nurse who's in the ambulance sees and says, I think we've lost him. Now, the family, the ambulance driver, stops the ambulance. The brother, you can imagine the brother is inconsolable.
Of course.
So they mourn there a bit. The ambulance driver turns the vehicle. They head back to Hola. The family is sitting back and saying, the doctors did the best they could. The doctors at Hola did the best they could. The doctors that we found at Matu Hospital in Machakos County did the best they could. The doctor at Chogoria, who said, bring him, we have a facility, did the best he could. The county government of Tana River, the government of the Republic of Kenya, did not do the best it could to keep our brother alive. Now, let's get serious on these matters. Tana River County, during the height of COVID and when the government was now repurposing some budget and pushing into counties to support them, establish facilities that can take care of COVID patients, received 38 million shillings. The county government announced that they had plans to build an ICU, but they later replaced it with plans to build an HDU. Yesterday, the Tana River Health Executive, Javan Bonaya, confirmed that the county has no specialists for an ICU department. He even went on to say, we don't have those experts, and also in as much as we may need the ICU, the demands of having one running vis-a-vis the cases that we receive that require such a facility disqualifies it as a priority. Nevertheless, he said, the county will advertise a tender for the construction of a HDU this month, noting that the plans had been stuck in the procurement process and awaiting the passing of a supplementary budget. They received 38 million shillings. They said, we're going to do ICU. They changed out. They said it's going to be HDU. They have not even started procurement. For what? The HDU. ICU, HDU don't just come ICU, HDU. There's equipment and there's specialized healthcare workers that are needed in those facilities. You need ICU nurses who know how to deal with patients in critical care. You need doctors who are then able to basically help a patient in ICU. All those things come in addition to the building there written ICU. Tana River does not have. The health executive, CEC, that's a Minister for Health in Tana River County, says, we don't have one, but also just looking at the kind of needs that we have here, it's not really a priority right now.
Okay, so, and it isn't a priority.
Building one and then having HDU trained nurses who are just there
is more of a priority.
And looking at them, no, it's not a priority because we don't get many cases of people who require to go into ICU. Remember last year, there's a woman who died in labor because she could not get an ICU facility she needed cesarean section. They could not basically put her.
And how many counties did they traverse while
they had to go and look for a facility in Garissa? And they were even being told by the administrators in Tana River, don't say you've come from Hola. Say you've come from somewhere 70 kilometers from Hola, closer to Garissa.
I can't come to grips with how serious this situation is, because these are the ones that make it to the headlines. These are the ones that then become stories of national interest. It has to be questioned. You cannot have a situation like this, because how many more are happening in this manner? When then put to task, the best explanation or reasoning that you can give behind this is, yeah, well, it's not really a priority. You were given, number one, you were given money. I'm trying to find the statistics in terms of numbers, how much it takes to actually put up a facility, which even if there are 2 ICU units within the facility, how much would it cost? I'm looking for those numbers and I'll get them in a minute. But you were given the money. You were given money for this specific purpose, but then you still decide that it's not a priority. And this is the problem, that on what level is the sanctity of life placed? You have to ask. On what level is the sanctity of life placed? But when you say, well, we don't... one life lost because of inadequacies is too many lives lost because of inadequacies. It was not a mistake. It was not an accident that you can say a building fell on somebody and so they died. There's nothing we could do about it. But here we are saying that. You're saying that it was not a priority. Had it been there, this man would not have died. Same holla. Had it been there, that woman who died in labor would not have died. It's simple. That's what we're talking about now. We're not saying maybe there would have been other extenuating circumstances. No, we are saying very clearly, had that gap been filled, this would not have happened. And the blame lies squarely at the feet of those who were supposed to do something about it. Then because a story like this happens, suddenly people are running after themselves and saying, oh, you know what we'll do? Later this month, we'll put out tender for you to come. Are you kidding me? Where is the sanctity of life placed, number one? And then I'm still going back to this thing, which is a monkey on my shoulder for the longest time. We are talking about the rollout of UHC right now. The system itself is wonderful. On the back of that, look at the stories that we are looking at today. How are you going to roll out this thing where you don't have facilities? Even where you have, you don't have. Even where you have, you don't have. What kind of nightmare are people living in when they're seeking medical attention? Can you imagine? Just imagine for a moment. And I think that's what it requires for you to then be spurred on to do something, right? Imagine the anguish that somebody has had to go through. I'm not even talking about this man, God rest his soul, who passed on. The people who were around him, who were struggling to make sure that he makes it. Try this option, travel halfway across the country, and then he dies. And then you think to yourself, my God, had we made it a little bit earlier? They waited for 6 hours for an ambulance. Had we made it a little bit earlier? Had there been a facility at Holla that we could have taken care of him? had there been. That's the unfortunate thing about regret, that you can't really do anything about it. You can't. How many more people have to die? How many more sticky situations do you have to get into before you say, you know what, guys, it's enough? With that which we have, with the resources that are available, can we just even make basic sense of some resources and facilities? Basic.
And when the government comes out and says, in the last year, we've seen an increase in the number of ICU facilities to over 600 ICU facilities countrywide, because of government effort. This is what the president reads, right? At a public event, national event, such as Mashujaa Day, and says, this is what we have seen as a result of the effort that we've put in place. Of course, he's looking at it because of the reports that have come up to him. Those reports come from counties, consolidated reports to the Council of Governors. The Council of Governors presents its report to the Ministry of Health. Ministry of Health takes the report to the President. The President looks and says, oh, brilliant. This is what we got.
Let's go and tell
So,
them.
it's true. Does he have any reason to
question?
To question, to not believe? Well, he may have, but then he believes that Muthui Kagwe has done his job, that if not Muthui Kagwe, then the chair of the health committee in the Council of Governors has done his job, or the CEO of the Council of Governors, or at least the governor, for God's sake, has done their job and made sure that by the time they're transmitting this, there's actually an ICU facility that is working.
And that is manned.
Yes.
That is manned. Because they'll tell you, excuse me, that there's an ICU facility. But you know what? An ICU facility without the requisite manpower is useless. And there are people who are trained for that. It's useless. You'd rather not even have one, because you can't, the people who need to operate all of that, they don't exist. Then you can't tell me that you've done something about it. You can't. How seriously are these matters being taken? I keep saying, the way a country treats its most vulnerable at any one time, the state of a country's most vulnerable, is a picture of the state of that nation. That's how well you're doing. If your most vulnerable are in a state that is like this we are describing today, that is a mirror image of the state of the nation. Not all this other flowery window dressing that we see. The people who do not have help, the people who are in a struggling situation, paint that picture, extrapolate that. That is the picture of the nation. Nothing else. Say whatever you want to say, do whatever you want to say. And if you don't intend or you have no desire to improve that picture, then okay. But if you do, start there. Start there. Start there. People who are starving, people who can't access healthcare, people don't have water. Basics. That's a true picture of a nation. Nothing else.
Nasir says, guys, I've been to Hola before, and I can agree with the descriptions given by the status of health facilities in Hola, Tana River County. People there are suffering, but then again, they'll keep on putting in the worst leaders in office and blame the central government.
We talk of conditioning and we look at the citizen, the simple mwananchi, and we see they've been conditioned to put up with the inadequacies of whether it's a central or national government or the county government. But there's another conditioning. The leadership, and do you constantly mention it, the leadership, however it is they're sent to that particular position, also seem to be conditioned to simply ignore the suffering of the people, or to assume that the people are accustomed to that level of suffering. So
they'll get by.
Yes, and this great need seems to be a talking point for those who want to discuss it, but for those who are supposed to do something about it, it doesn't seem to be an issue that they consider is worth bothering about. Because how do you explain a situation where you have COVID? And the reason why the demand was that great was many people in those initial days needed ICU care.
Yep.
Because of the nature of that particular disease. Okay? So the government, 5 billion shillings aside, and said, this one is specifically for this. Have we forgotten the song and dance around that day? Have we forgotten? Council of Governors comes and tells us, from what they have seen, the requirements that were desired by the government only 23 counties have not quite met the threshold. The president said, okay, I've heard. Sends an investigative team. Just please go and find out this. How many counties did we find had actually met the threshold?
5.
Precisely. 5. So 42 had not met. And yet they were claiming that they had met. So where had the money gone? And this one was not part of the normal allocation. It was specific.
For this.
Specific for this. Did we not hear of stories of someone saying, we can buy the bed, but where are we going to put them? And you're thinking, what is the matter with you?
We have the bed. We have the bed. It was Lamu. We have the bed.
No, it was actually Tana River.
It's in Tana River.
It was same Tana River.
Yes. Where we go. And you wonder, what on earth is this governor talking about? The money structure means building. Then you have beds. The thing about personnel, we don't have a shortage of people whom you could use to help. In fact, we have an abundance of personnel. So that particular aspect. Now, you may argue about whether they train specifically for emergency care. Different discussion. But you're talking about basics. They exist. So what about the commodities that are required? Do we have the capacity in this country to make them available? Of course we do.
Yes.
We even produce some of them locally here.
That is why it is so painful. And this is the thing that I keep saying. You have the capacity. You have the knowledge. You have the wherewithal. I don't even want to hear this story or there's not adequate funding. There is.
There is funding. In this particular case, there was funding.
You have everything that you need, but you choose not to. That's one of the worst sins that you can ever commit. Worst, that you have everything that you need, you know what you're supposed to do, but you choose deliberately not to do it, and you sacrifice the lives of people on the altar of your own personal expediency. Worst.
Worst. Even as you're saying it, it becomes apparent why it is that these countries that call themselves our partners have such a low opinion of us. Because if you have a leadership class who have no regard for the people they're supposed to represent, how exactly do you expect people to look at you and view you? You seem to think that it is normal for you to exacerbate the suffering of your people. And you have the facilities to make their lives better. You have the resources to make their lives better. And that seems to be the last thing that you consider to be a priority.
We keep talking about auditing not just the processes, but processes and the money
that
has been spent in the name of COVID.
Yes.
And I think this brings that question back up again. When the county government of Tana River received this money as support for COVID, extra budgetary allocation, this is beyond the revenue, division of revenue, the county allocation, this is extra coming from the national government. All right, so we have all reorganized here. Take 38 million shillings, do something for COVID. What do they do? We need to have these audits properly being done publicly at every county headquarter. Everybody knows this is how much money was received. Can we all audit and say this is what we see? But what should we be doing in terms of just seeking and demanding just to get what we deserve?
I think that's a British question.
Let's open up the phone lines. Let's hear from you. 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. Let's take a break. Take a look at the weather. Take a look at the traffic. Breathe a little bit and come back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to SpiceFM.
Unapostoria to the real news. Mimi sikuamini mpaka nionyeshe size of this. Unanitext online to me tunanifeel. Staki jokes ama nitakureport for real.
Wazazi watoina mayouth wetu, usidanganywe, erevuka na ujibambe na burudani safe na masomo mtandaoni.
For information, visit cop.ke-cirt.go.ke/ report incident on ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
5,000 kilometers of unforgiving terrain across Kenya. Classic rally machinery put through their paces by the best drivers across the globe. That's right, the toughest rally in the world is back with a bang. The East African Safari Classic Rally flags off on the 10th of February in Naivasha. Follow 9 days of pure motorsport action with stages on the 11th and 12th in Nanyuki, 13th to the 15th in Amboseli, 16th in Savo, 17th and 18th in Watamu, where only the strongest pairing man and machine will cross the finish line. Stay updated on all the events on KTN Sports, Standard newspaper, or follow the Standard social media pages across all social media platforms and feed your need for speed.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, highs of 26 and lows of 15 today. It's mostly sunny at 20 in Nakuru, highs of 28 and lows of 14. 13 will be the low in a sunny Nyeri at 17. And Eldoret will be sunny for most of today at 19 degrees. It'll see highs of 26 and lows of 11. Mostly cloudy conditions in Mombasa, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And Malindi is cloudy at 29, highs of 31 today. We're looking at cloudy conditions in Kisumu at 23, hotting up to highs of 28. 28 will also be the high in Kakamega, currently mostly cloudy at 24. Mostly cloudy conditions in Kampala, highs of 26 today, and it still continues to rain in Dar es Salaam at 27, highs of 31. Johannesburg is sunny at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 15, and it's cloudy in Lagos at 26, highs of 33. Kinshasa, the rain has stopped for now, 25 degrees, highs of 34 and lows of 24. It's a sunny afternoon in Beijing. It's -5, highs of -2 and lows of -11. Mostly clear conditions in Paris now that the sun is up, highs of 11 and lows of 4. It's 5 degrees and clear in London. We'll see highs of 10 and lows of 5, -6, clear, still late night in New York. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 0 and lows of -6.
Spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Getting out of traffic hour in a minute or two, but there's still some traffic on Gong Road this morning, feeding off onto Huru Highway. That's where you see the most action. And then coming into the CBD from the Thika Superhighway, that whole Moranga Road, Ngara area, still taking a big hit of it. Coming out of Westlands, also a thing, and Kiambu Road is, ebbing and flowing. Traffic dissipating. Okay, Mombasa Road, we've not taken a look there for a minute. We're seeing some inbound traffic right around Imara Daima, but we're okay coming from Sabaki. That's moving along without any much of a problem. Okay, so let's talk through the day, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
23 minutes to 10. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. So, there is no ICU facility or HDU facility in Tana River County. And this, according to the CEC for Health in Tana River, is not really a priority because of looking at the demands of running an ICU facility vis-a-vis the cases that we receive that require such a facility. Disqualifies it as a priority. He says that construction for a HDU is going to commence soon because soon the county government will advertise a tender for the construction of a HDU facility this month. This month, that ends in how many days? 13 days. The money that they received, 38 million shillings for construction of ICU HDU, they received it, but this process had been stuck in procurement, awaiting the passing of a supplementary budget. We must admit that there are problems we are yet to resolve. We can't settle them within the 3 years that we had, but we have the solutions.
That is utter nonsense.
They're in the pipeline.
That is complete and utter nonsense. When you look at the way the spoils that go to each county are divided, there is a grant that the government gives. It gives for other things. It gives for road maintenance. It gives for polytechnics. Health also gets, specifically for level 5 hospitals, specifically, right? So quite aside from this one, which was separate from everything else that they get, and the money that you get to run the health systems in your county, there's this specific grant. Now, the national government has understood and the need to ensure that you upgrade the services, the health services that the citizenry get. And it isn't one thing, it's multi-pronged. How then does somebody come about and tell you that the fundamentals that they were supposed to do and for which money was given hasn't been done? How on earth do you explain this?
You can't. And that's the painful part, that you cannot explain it. It's inexplicable, because how do you then say, I had everything I needed, I was given everything, but I didn't do it. How are you going to do that? You can't. And that's why it makes it so difficult. But let's be clear here. What are we talking about? We're not talking about all the other things that are going wonderfully. We're saying that one life was lost here. We're saying that months ago, another life was lost here. We're saying that here there have been problems over and over and over again, and that's what we are addressing. Somebody died because of inadequacies that resulted from here. And that's what we're talking about now. So everywhere that there is a here needs to be sorted. Everywhere there is a here, it needs to be dealt with. We can't window dress it. We can't call it something that it's not. It's an inadequacy. It is a sin. And I'm saying it very clearly, that you cannot have what you need and you choose not to do it. Meanwhile, there are lives hanging in the balance. Literally, lives being lost. Cannot be the case. It cannot be. How many more situations of suffering are people going through that maybe are not resulting in death, but are really, really bad situations and something can be done about them? People who are lining up, queuing, for example, today in hospital, that don't have the resources that they require to get medical treatment. But we're not talking about it because we're not there at the moment right now. And it's a serious conversation to be had at the time where there is a national rollout of a program that is supposed to improve the healthcare in the country. How many people today in that same hall are lining up today to access facilities, and there's something that they cannot have just because somebody didn't do their job?
Tana River has a population of, say, something like 350,000. Let me say it again, 350,000. In this budget year, 2021-2022, they got an allocation of something like 7 billion shillings. Now, if I work at it and say that there was an additional 53 billion that counties were given to share, and you move it back, and I average that they were getting something like 6 billion, just for purpose of conversation.
They got 38.
Thank you very much.
Million.
For this particular.
Yes.
But I'm talking about the allocation that the county gets every single year.
Oh, the extra money that goes
the money
to
for
health.
the county. The county, yes. Okay? Are you telling me that when you know the size of your population, the needs that they have, that you are not able to fashion this 7 billion shillings that you get so that the needs of this county are met? It is a lot of money, It's a lot of money.
Yes. So your chagrin is met with reality that is exactly what we are saying, that it is not possible. They can't do it.
So we're talking about a population that is less than 500,000.
Yes, that's the population.
Okay, the county is huge.
Yes, it is.
In terms of landmass.
Yes, it is.
But what we're also talking about now, health, in health facilities. How many health facilities do we have? So we have Hola, do we have a health facility in Garsen, for example, and the other parts? This is the one county where we don't have an ICU, clearly. This is 9 billion shillings in just one financial year.
Yes.
So times 9, 81.
Yes.
So close to, say, 100 billion shillings has gone to Tana River County in the last 10 years.
Yes.
100 billion shillings. This is one of the counties that is facing acute food shortage. This is one of the counties that is clearly does not have health facilities that have an ICU facility. But in addition to that, ambulances, they don't have. Okay? Because we could go with what the CEC is telling us. We actually don't see very many patients who require an ICU facility.
Yes.
So that's why we've not built one.
No, probably because they die before they actually get there.
So do you have ambulance services? Do you have enough doctors that
Oxygen
can take care
center.
of this? Do you have oxygen that can... Do you have all these things? Do you have a proper referral system
A proper maternity
that can
take care of a cesarean section. What
Do
are we
you have
talking
that?
about?
If you don't have that, you don't have food security in your county. And this is a county where the national government has looked at and seen, Galana Kulalu, Tana
Put it
River.
there.
No. A foreign country has actually come and said, well, Kenya, so you give us a couple of acres in Tana River, we grow food for our people.
Yeah. Because clearly, you people are not doing anything.
Because this
with
land
it.
is here, is
You
idle.
people are not doing anything with it, and we need food also.
100 billion shillings has gone to this county in the last 10 years, and we don't even have a proper... Okay, National Irrigation Board has projects in Tana River County.
They do.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, Tana River doesn't have a desert. You need to go to Tana River to see it. It's green. They have adequate rainfall. They have delightful wildlife, horrible roads. Okay? That place is a place that, if you're talking potential, it has so much potential, it is actually amazing. The question that you raise about the needs of the people and the population, it isn't the only part of this particular country that is sparsely populated. No. It isn't. If you go to the northern part of this country, it's the story of the day. Huge space, not very many people. But the problem with the northern part, man, is semi-arid to arid. Okay? This one is not. Somehow, something as basic, as fundamental as that. How many divisions does it have? So is it 6 or 7 divisions? You would expect that one of the things that governments do, there will be some health facility that is available or has been built at some point. But the building of the facility is never really the issue here. It's what you've done with it. It may exist.
The building could be there. 4 walls of the building could be there.
Yes.
But what is inside?
You see, this question we have discussed and raised in this very, very studio on many occasions when we look at the governors and their performance. And the fundamental question is it that people vie for this position and they don't fully understand what is required of them? And when they do, what do they do about it? Because I get the impression that many people end up as governors and they're just overwhelmed. Completely overwhelmed.
In terms of that, there's
What
too
did you
much
say the
to
population of Tana River is?
It's around 350,000.
No. Well, according to the 2012 census, yeah. So it's more than this. It's 300, yes. According to 2012, there were 264. But the land mass is still the same. 35,000 square kilometers.
What's the population density?
35,000 square kilometers. Yes?
Yes.
And about 350,000 people.
Yes.
The longest river, the biggest river in the country.
Yes, traverses
this county.
Completely. And it has distributaries, just so that you understand. When I say it is the Garden of Eden and it's fertile, believe me, it is. It is. That county has so much. It is fascinatingly amazing. But then what is also fascinatingly amazing is the incompetence. And the sheer lack of anything that you may call leadership skills within the leadership of people who represent these poor people of this particular county.
You know, Hussein Dado is a governor, right?
Yes.
This man is a former administrator.
Yes.
He has worked in other parts of the country.
Of course he has.
In the provincial administration. Okay. So he knows what else is happening in other parts of the country. He has benchmarked just by school and work.
He has a wealth of experience already, and then in terms of what is needed.
But you see, when you are an administrator for the government, you are instructed and you're told what to do, and there's an oversight. So you follow instructions. It's really easy. follow instructions, and you're given the facilities to follow those instructions.
Now you're
in
make
charge. It is you.
decision.
It is you to make decisions for people to follow. And clearly, that capacity, this gentleman doesn't have.
Okay.
Doesn't have.
Point blank.
Don't look. It isn't someone's level of education. The bulk of the governors we have in this country are quite well educated.
Indeed.
But what do they do? That education that we seem to. I mean, for me, the sticking point is the amount of monies that have actually gone through our county system.
Staggering.
And then you compare it with what that money is supposed to have done.
Deliver.
Phantom projects, imaginary projects.
Whatever.
Yes. So now, the real cost of all these things, unfortunately, is human lives.
Indeed. That's it. And the thing is that and this is the thing, that people will say, but what is it? People are still alive. Even when you have a depreciation of life, because people are not able to get enough to eat, because people cannot live full quality of life, that affects human life. There's this thinking that when somebody's dead, you can talk about the loss of human life. No. The depreciation of life also leads to loss of life. Let's be very honest. When the rights of people, the very basics that they need, are not being met, when you talk about things like this, that somebody cannot access medical care, when people have to look for food because they're in a drought-stricken area and we have to decide and gamble with whether we're going to give them this amount or the other, we are talking about the loss of life. Let's just make it really clear and plain. And then there's somebody who has a responsibility to make sure that these things are happening at a micro level. And then you just don't.
The county has been doing a lot of work. Okay, I'm going to read some excerpts from the annual progress report for the financial year 2019-2020 prepared by the county government of Tana River. This is after we hear from Karanja in Naivasha. Good morning, Karanja.
Good morning, Eric Latiff City.
Good morning, Karanja.
Morning, Karanja.
Yes, let me put some question here. Do we have senator in Tana River?
Yes. Of course. We most definitely do. We even have members of parliament.
Surely, do we have MP in this area?
Yes, we do.
And even the governor for Tana River is Ariroba. And this is one of the areas that they rely on the relief food each and every year.
Can you imagine?
Yes, we hear these Tana River people, they are dying because of food. And even I think the special program minister is already they have their food being distributed like today or any other day. I think these people they have abdicated their very very role. That's why I think to myself we should remove this relief food from some of the counties. In fact, you have cited a very good
and then we do what? So you don't give them relief support and then
they have money. These people they are getting they have the agriculture the place is very green. It's very good. In fact, I think the river passes through this area. Somebody is sleeping on his job, my friend.
Completely.
Yes, thank you very much, Eric.
The governor is not Aliroba Karanja, though. The governor is Dado Godana.
Yes, Gado Donana. Those names seem to correspond themselves.
Yes. So, Asante. Dado Godana is the governor of Tana River County. He is a retired major in the military. He was elected Tana River governor last time. He is a former member of parliament for Galole constituency and a former assistant minister for communications. Okay? Kama ni kujua serikali, anajua serikali. So I was telling you about the progress report in the financial year 2019-2020, right? Work has been done, my friend.
Okay.
Quality and affordable healthcare. In the reporting period, the Department of Health maintained a staff establishment of 16 doctors and 276 nurses. The county has 25 operational community units serving 20% of the households in the county. 5 health facilities received the quarterly medical supplies. The department is carrying out several health infrastructure projects: construction of YU dispensary, construction of an accident and emergency unit and records office, and renovation of 2 wards at the Hola Referral Hospital.
Which year, Eric?
1920. 2019-2020.
Fine. Okay.
2021 bado hawajatoa.
Okay. It would be nice if somebody from Tana River called
tell
to
us
tell
if
us.
these things exist.
But anyway,
You know, when you talk about food, for example, modern and commercially oriented agriculture. In the reporting period, the Department of Agriculture distributed 75 tons of fertilizers, 89 tons of certified seeds, 2,438 hectares of land was under 2,400 hectares.
Yeah,
That's
the
kind
land,
of
by the way.
5,000 acres of land.
Thousands.
Under irrigation within the major irrigation scheme, while 183.2 hectares was under irrigation within the minor irrigation schemes. That is 70.4 hectares of land expanded within the minor irrigation schemes. To strengthen agriculture mechanization services, 15 tractors were procured for use in helping farmers in land preparation. Yeah, in these schemes. 1 livestock auction yard was constructed. 1,700 beehives distributed to strengthen agriculture. 10 hectares of land was under irrigation fodder. 14 feedlots were established.
Okay, Eric, we get it.
Sawa, tumesikia.
Kazi imefanywa.
However,
5,000 acres of land under major irrigation.
However,
about 1,000 acres of land under minor irrigation.
Eric, the Buddha,
supported.
Buddha irrigation scheme, where is it?
Sasa kwani kwa wapi?
Sini hapo tu.
Fertilizer, seeds distributed, beehives,
my
All
dear.
right. All that we've heard.
feedlots.
So how is it then? See,
that
it's
they're
food.
receiving ration.
Yes, how?
This is irrigation, so it's not rain. You know, rainfall has it's irrigation.
Eric, start again.
Say what you were saying.
Redefine this thing for us that we
Called
understand.
irrigation, so we can
Failed
understand.
failed rainfall.
But there's irrigation.
The Tana River dry up.
A river runs through it. Wait,
This one is a river runs dry.
I'm telling you.
Oops.
Where? What is the situation on the ground? You know, you can put anything in a report. Like now, I can write something for you. But at 12 o'clock, I give you a very nice, swanky report.
Eric, we've heard
can
of
write anything.
counties that have built early childhood education centers. They have put up primary schools. It's in the report. They have put up new health facilities. You go to visit. Bare earth as God had created it.
You're the one who
Nothing
told
on
us
it.
that you were
Even
very
Tana
happy
River
when
has those
CS,
things.
when CS George Magoha went. Where did he go? Somewhere in Central. And there was somebody who was telling him. He asked them, "Where is this thing?" He said, "It's in the report." He said, "No, I'm here now. Show me where it is."
Eldoret. It was
Eldoret. Show me where it is. He said, "But he's even holding the paper."
Says, you
It's
see,
in the report.
but yes, it's in the report.
He
Oh,
said,
fine,
I'm
I've
here
got it.
now. Show me where it is.
No.
You know, it's coming up the chain. It's coming. It will be in your office.
That
Sema
thing.
wewe ni mjinga.
Eric amesema alifanya mzuri kumwita mjinga. Sababu-
It was, everybody, the complaint was that he insulted the man. He was describing the man. Yes, it was an apt description. I mean, what sort of nonsense was that? I mean, you know,
Report.
100 billion shillings has gone into Tana River County, and this is what we are hearing. Okay? Health facilities that are serving 20% of the households, 80% unserved.
Brother, divide 350,000
people
by that money.
Give them 10 billion divided by 350,000. Kila mtu pesa yake.
Achukue. Remember when we're talking about the debts,
Akuja Nairobi akule.
Yes. Sasa yeye ako two set. So development imefika kwake.
Yeah.
They can do what they
I'm developed.
Yes, surely.
Sisi tumedevelop. I'm developed. You guys are not developed, Shauri?
You know that money, I think.
No.
Very many of our erstwhile governors, I'm not going to call them leaders, get thoroughly confused. That money is so much, they really don't know what to start, what to end, what to begin. So just run around in circles. And then, people who've been in this system long enough, who understand this, surround them. So what you have is a lot of conversations about what is being done, but
not what is being
on the ground.
Different.
Between different
Yes. You will find what they're talking about, the things which were built 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Or they haven't even been built.
Or they've not even been built. It's very easy to put it in a report because the assumption is that you read the report and you go and keep quiet, right? And you go and
as
check.
long as the procurement process has started, just by writing a list of
project is done, man.
This is it. It goes into the report.
You know, it reminds me of a time when in the name of data collection, people would go out to collect data. And it was reported that some people didn't really go anywhere. They just sat under a tree and just filled in. Now, the problem is, yes, data by its very nature is really not linear. It's not something that just flows smoothly. It's jagged. Now, sooner or later, you'll get caught out. Terms of governance are coming to an end. Doesn't matter if it's 5 or 10. There's the amount of money that is now the purveyor of truth, that money. The audit is simple. If you say these things were done, where are they?
Where are they? And the people of Tana River need to be told, this is what the government is saying it has done with your money.
Yes, because it's your money.
It's your money.
Indeed.
City, tell us about how to protect children online.
Well, one of the things that is important, first of all, is to understand that protection comes in against a background of wanting a child to be educated and to understand, right? But then there are always things that are beyond your reach. So in order to understand this, you then have to plug in into a system that enables you to be able to do what is required of you.
Like the one by the Communications Authority, www.ca.go.ke. From tomorrow, we'll be telling you actually the specifics on child online protection, who you can call if you have any report, how you can escalate a case, how you can deal with bullies online, and all that. From tomorrow, join us. City, end with the bad news of the proverb.
They may say they love you. Wait and see what they do for you. Or more specifically, to you.
Kwisha. It is that day. Have a lovely one, folks. It's 10 a.m.